Chapter 2577, Demon City 2. Some of the beasts are still recovering from their injuries, so I'm afraid they won't be able to return immediately. Old Leopard said with a sigh. Are your injuries very serious? Lung Ruoxua asked hesitantly. Some are more serious, but there are more injured beasts, so there aren't enough pills to use, so I can only give them to the more seriously injured ones. Old Leopard explained. Where's the injured beastie now? Lung Ruoxua asked worriedly. At the Floating Clouds Mountain. The White Fox clan leader quickly said. Let's go to the Floating Clouds Mountain. Lung Ruoxua replied without hesitation. Girl, what should we do with these two guys? Seeing that Nio was about to leave, Blue hurriedly pointed at the unconscious white tiger on the ground and asked. You can handle it. Lung Ruoxua was not in the mood to care about the White Tiger King. Hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, Song nodded and said to Uncle Long. Little whale, I'll leave these two tigers to you. After saying that, Song jumped into Lung Ruoxia's arms and found a comfortable place to lie down. Wasn't he supposed to go to Floating Clouds Mountain? Of course, he had to bring it along. Uncle Long, you guys stay here. I'll go to the Floating Clouds Mountain and bring back the beasts. Lung Ruoxua instructed Uncle Long before breaking free from the White Fox clan leader's embrace. She then brought the Old Leopard and the other beasts towards the Floating Clouds Mountain. Along the way, Lung Ruoxua told him that even though the beasts were injured, none of them were injured thanks to the clan leader of the White Fox clan's adaptability. It was unknown how that old fox had thought of digging a secret passage from the Floating Clouds Mountain to the land of demons, and then secretly smuggled the beasts there. After that, he vigilantly ordered people to block the secret passage, so that the beasts in the land of demons were spared. It was said that it was a testament to the cooperation and close cooperation between the beasts. The beasts displayed their strengths and finally all of them managed to keep their lives. After the fall of the land of demons, the beasts in Floating Clouds Mountain immediately went into seclusion, afraid that Fog would discover any clues. After hiding in fear for nearly half a month, they were finally safe. However, due to their inability to contact Lung Ruoxua, they did not know much about the situation in the land of the demons. It was only after they heard that strange phenomena were occurring in the land of the demons that they gathered their men to gather information. Fortunately, things were developing in a direction that they were happy with. Otherwise, not only would they have made a wasted trip, they might have even become the prisoners of Fog Ice. After Lung Ruoxua heard the Old Leopard's explanation, she saw clan leader White Fox's praise me. Praise me. He looked at her expectantly. A few drops of cold sweat hung helplessly on Lung Ruoxia's forehead. As the clan leader of the White Fox clan had wished, Lung Ruoxua stroked his big, fluffy head before praising him. White Fox clan leader, well done. It's over? The White Fox clan leader looked at her miserly and beautiful master with disappointment. Why didn't he take any action? The White Fox clan leader was not satisfied, and the resentment on her body increased. What, you want a material reward? Lung Ruoxua glanced at the White Fox clan leader's expression and said calmly, I don't need material rewards, but if master can give me a sweet kiss, I'll be very happy. The White Fox clan leader requested fearlessly. In order to get a kiss from its master, it even ignored the Totoro that was lying proudly in its master's arms and constantly releasing cold air. From this, it could be seen how strong its desire for a kiss from its master was. Thanks. As soon as the White Fox clan leader's voice fell, the Old Leopard and the other beasts saw a white light flash quickly, and then there was a scream. The White Fox clan leader covered his face in pain and rolled on the ground. Old bye. The Old Leopard quickly ran to the White Fox clan leader's side and cried out softly with a worried look. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Wah. My lovely and beautiful master, save me. I'm disfigured. The White Fox clan leader covered her face as she wailed. Through the White Fox clan leader's claws, the Old Leopard saw fresh red blood gushing out of the furnace. He did not know how to react. If it was not wrong, the white light from before should beat Song's Totoro. Ugh. Not only did he fail to ask for Shue'er's kiss, he was even scratched by a Totoro. How tragic was this? It was starting to pity the White Fox clan leader. However, the Old Leopard, who knew well of the nature of the Blue Guardian, cleverly decided not to get involved in the dispute between them, or he would only get into trouble. In this day and age, the most important thing was to stay safe. Furthermore, seeing that the White Fox clan leader was still able to cry out so loudly, it was probably nothing serious. Therefore, after a simple greeting, it returned to the group and acted as if nothing had happened. As for the other beasts, they did not have the love of a little friend. They did not even greet the White Fox clan leader, and chose to ignore this scene. "Master, your foxy is disfigured." After a long time, the White Fox clan leader was still rolling on the ground, shouting nonstop. Lung Ruoxua was left with no choice but to squat down beside the White Fox clan leader. She pulled down his paw and said, "Let me see." "Woo. Master, be gentle, it hurts." Seeing that her master was finally willing to pay attention to her, the White Fox clan leader was elated. She could not help but wave her long, furry tail gently, clearly showing off. "It's fine, I won't disfigure you." Lung Ruoxua looked at the 5 claw marks on the White Fox clan leader's face, and thought to herself, Songchu's claw is really vicious. Those claw marks are so deep that they can even see the bones. However, this White Fox clan leader is really not your average person. Even in this state, he still wants to act coquettishly. She expressed that she was quite speechless about this. With that, Lung Ruoxua threw an elixir into the White Fox clan leader's mouth. After taking the elixir, the pain in the White Fox clan leader's body lessened by quite a bit. However, he was still lying on the ground. After waiting for a while, Lung Ruoxua noticed that the White Fox clan leader had no intention of getting up. She could only urge, "If there's nothing, then get up, so that we can continue our journey. There's something. I have something to do. It still hurts." The White Fox clan leader said pitifully. This old fox was still acting coquettishly. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she could not stop sighing. When Song heard this, he could not help but want to use his claws again. Fortunately, as the master, his hands were quick and his eyes were sharp, so he did not continue to cause trouble. "Where does it hurt?" Lung Ruoxua could only play along when she saw that the White Fox clan leader was being cheeky. "My whole body hurts. Master, please help me rub it," the White Fox clan leader said, a little insatiable. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua was speechless. Old Leopard and the other beasties also felt that this fellow with a bad memory was simply courting death. As soon as Azure heard this, he exploded. "Hells, I only scratched your face, and your whole body actually hurts? Do you want me to help you rub it?" Azure's fur stood on end as he roared. No need. I only want Master to help me." The White Fox clan leader, who did not seem to realize the danger of the situation, said, "She doesn't have time for you, we'll help you. You don't have to be so polite." After Tsong finished speaking, Huodadi jumped out from Lung Ruoxua's arms. Following that, white light flashed by quickly, accompanied by howls of pain. It was truly sad and tearful to hear it. Not only that, after a moment, snow white fur fluttered in the sky, like snowflakes falling in winter, slowly descending. Chapter 2578. Demon City 3. After an unknown period of time, the white light finally stopped. Lung Ruoxua, the old leopard, and the other beasts widened their eyes in disbelief as they looked at the White Fox clan leader, who was on her last breath. How tragic! It was really tragic. The current White Fox clan leader no longer looked like a fox. It was a bloody piece of meat. Not only that, the White Fox clan leader's beautiful fur, which it had always been proud of, had also disappeared. Right now, it was a fox that had been plucked of all its fur. Such a punishment was definitely an unbearable blow to a fox who loved to look beautiful. The old leopard and the other beasts looked at the dying White Fox clan leader with sympathy. They had a lot to say, but they did not know where to start. In short, they sympathized with this narcissistic old fox who loved beauty. He just didn't know if this guy could bear such a cruel result. However, the White Fox clan leader's mental endurance had clearly exceeded the expectations of the old leopard and the other beasties. This was because it was still trying its best to open its swollen eyes and look at its beautiful and lovely master with tears in its eyes. The affection that was expressed in its eyes was so touching. The old leopard and the other beasts were touched. This was true love. They would fight whoever dared to say that it wasn't them. However, Lung Ruoxue clearly thought differently from them. Even though she pitied the White Fox clan leader, when she saw her current state, for some reason, she felt that she had brought this upon herself. Could it be that she had no sympathy at all? Lung Ruoxue refused to believe that she was a bad woman who enjoyed gloating over others' misfortune. Hence, she squatted down with a worried look on her face, and stuffed a pill into clan leader White Fox's mouth. She then sighed and said, "White Fox clan leader, you sigh. Let's continue our journey." She didn't know what to say. When the White Fox clan leader heard Lung Ruoxue's words this time, she nodded obediently and shyly. "I'll listen to you, master." After taking the pill, its injuries were almost healed, but its snow-white fur could not grow back immediately. Fortunately, this was not the first time such a situation had happened, so it was very calm. Lowering her head to look at the remaining fur on her body, the White Fox clan leader was rather pleased. Fortunately, the Totoro was very good at plucking hair and knew that the hair on the key part should be left for it. Otherwise, it would have been gone. "Master, let's go." The White Fox clan leader consoled herself, and was the first to walk in front. In the face of such a situation, the old leopard and the other beasts cleverly attributed it to excessive stimulation. Following behind the White Fox clan leader, who had been too agitated, Lung Ruoxue finally arrived at the Floating Clouds Mountain with her beasts. Upon arriving at the Floating Cloud Mountain, other than a few beasties who were surprised by the White Fox clan leader's new appearance, many beasties seemed to have gotten used to it and only shot a glance at it. In this regard, the old leopard and the other beasts seemed to be a little uneasy. The old leopard couldn't believe that some beasts were so calm. He even grabbed one of the beasts and asked, "Don't you have any thoughts about the White Fox clan leader's new image?" "Tisk. It's not the first time that old Fox has done this. What else can he think about?" The beastie who spoke was from the Floating Cloud Mountain. After saying that, it showed a strong contempt for the old leopard who was making a fuss. The old leopard was completely confused. Okay. It was the one who was not calm. With a deep sense of conflict, the old leopard went to help Lung Ruoxue in low spirits. He brought Lung Ruoxue around to inspect the injured beasts, then gave them pills. After treating the beasts' injuries, Lung Ruoxue noticed a few familiar snow-white figures in the crowd. Shui Yuan, Shui Qiao. Lung Ruoxue was pleasantly surprised when she saw the two gigantic snow foxes. "After we moved, we wanted to go to the land of demons to find you, but something happened there. We contacted the snow fox great elder, so we came here directly." Shui Ran explained with a smile. "Little Shui'er, it's all thanks to these two snow fox seniors keeping watch over us during this period of time." The old leopard nodded gratefully at the two white foxes and said to Lung Ruoxue, Thank you two seniors." Lung Ruoxue understood. If it wasn't for the support of a few powerful beastie during this period of time, some of the weaker beastie would have had a mental breakdown long ago. "You're welcome. We're a family," Shui Ran said hurriedly. Their king was a beastie, so they naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to explain it to their king. "By the way, little girl, how is the king? Are you hurt?" Snowbridge asked anxiously. "May is fine. When the beasts here are all better, we'll return to the land of demons." Lung Ruoxue knew that these two foxes wanted to see the May and the rest as soon as possible, so she naturally explained in an understanding manner. Yes. Shui Ran and Shui Qiao quickly nodded. In fact, they wanted to ask why they didn't bring their king with them, but they were too embarrassed to ask. In fact, ever since the universal bracelet could be confined by people, the demon and other beasts were not very willing to stay in the bracelet. They did not want the same thing to happen again. It did not feel good to be unable to help their master, and they did not want to experience that feeling again. And this time, because Lung Ruoxue was only here to pick up the injured beasts from Floating Cloud Mountain, the May and the other beasts did not follow. They had to help their master guard the land of demons, and not let anyone else take advantage of them. They had a lot of things to do now, and this was definitely not the time to stick to their master. With this thought in mind, the sensible May and the other beasts all stayed in the land of demons to wait for their master. More importantly, they wanted to give their master a surprise. After staying at the Floating Cloud Mountain for 2 days, Lung Ruoxia's beast's injuries had mostly recovered under the treatment of her powerful pills. After moving the beasts into her bracelet, she set off with Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, the two snow foxes, to return to the land of demons. As there were only 3 of them, their return speed was much faster than when they came. When they arrived at the land of evil demons, Lung Ruoxia suddenly realized that in just a few days, the land of evil demons had a new look. No, it should be said that it was even better than before. At this moment, the land of evil demons was filled with trees, and huge trees formed a forest. Numerous small paths made of trees were winding. Every path seemed to be winding, but in reality, they all led to Lung Ruoxia's original residence. However, people who came here for the first time would most likely get lost. In addition, the original land of the demons was mainly made up of mountains, but after the sneak attack by Wuxia and the others, the mountains were basically flattened. Now not even a small hill could be seen. After passing through layers of trees and entering the depths, they saw many exquisite small buildings. The small buildings were at least 2 stories, and all of them were made of wood. They looked beautiful and magnificent. It could be said that they were 2 extremes compared to the land of the demons, which was surrounded by mountains and had a dangerous aura. The current land of demons could be called Demon City. When Lung Ruoxia, a human and 2 magical beasts, stepped into this place, she was also at a loss for a moment. However, she recovered very quickly and followed her memory and intuition to find the original encampment. The base was still in its original position, but after some tidying up, it had become the center of the entire demon land. Not only had the houses been restored to their original state, but many flowers and trees had also been planted in the surroundings. Only a wide road was left to lead to other places in the demon land. In addition, the area of the encampment was much larger than before. In addition to the surrounding flowers and plants, there were all kinds of small buildings within a radius of 100 miles, which had become a major feature of the encampment. When Lung Ruoxia saw these items, Uncle Long and the rest were nowhere to be seen. After she had finished looking around, Uncle Long and the rest came out from their hiding spots. Looking at the shocked Lung Ruoxia, Uncle Long and the rest of the beasties smiled smugly at her. "Shui, how is it? It's pretty good here, right? Master, after our modification, this place can no longer be called the Land of Demons." The referee also said with a smile. "It's called Demon City?" Lung Ruoxia smiled. She knew that Uncle Long and the beasts had thought of many ways to make her forget her sad past. She was already extremely touched by this. However, the moment Lung Ruoxia mentioned the Demon City, the judge lowered his head dejectedly. He looked at his master with a bitter expression and complained, "Master, can you not be so smart? We've lost badly." "What?" Hearing the judge's words, Lung Ruoxia was a little lost. What did he mean by lost miserably? It couldn't be what she was thinking, right? Little Shui, after we changed this place to its current appearance, we had already decided that this place would no longer be called the Land of Demons, but Demon City. We wanted to develop this place into a central city like the Imperial City, so that as long as the people of the Divine Realm heard the words Demon City, they would think of respect and fear. However, a certain person and a certain beast did not agree with the name we changed on our own accord, so we must ask for your opinion. I already said that Shui and I have a telepathic connection, but they refused to believe me. We had no choice but to make a bet. Uncle Long explained with a smile. Seeing that Shui's mood had obviously improved, he dared to joke. "What's your bet?" Lung Ruoxia asked curiously after hearing Uncle Long's words. "All the good things we have." Yi's eyes were filled with tears as he spoke pitifully. Chapter 2579. Cooley who came to the door, 1. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxia raised her brows and asked with a faint smile, "You guys still have good stuff on you?" As far as she knew, hadn't all the treasures on her beasts already been handed over to the public? What could they use to bet with Uncle Long and the others? Could it be that he wanted to gain something for nothing? Lung Ruoxia was very curious. Since she had thought of this question, Uncle Long and the rest had thought of it as well. Following that, Uncle Long pulled the little fox, who was covered in black, over and asked, "Judge, you lost the bet. Hand over everything you have." What is it? Yao blinked his eyes and pretended to be innocent. Uncle Long was a little angry, and he said fiercely, "Of course it's the thing we bet on. I'm telling you, don't even think about being lazy, understand? Otherwise I'll spank your butt." "Uncle Long, are you threatening me? I'm so sad, Wu. How could you threaten such a cute snow fox like me?" The more Richard spoke, the sadder it became, and tears flickered in its eyes. If people who didn't understand it saw this, they might really feel heartache. It was a pity that everyone present was a smart person who couldn't see through the little trick that Richard had. Uncle Long would not fall for this little fox's trick. He couldn't help but laugh when he heard its words. "You're sad? Why are you sad? Come, let Uncle Long take a look." "Uncle Long, can't you see my depressed face?" As Yao spoke, he looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, acting like a depressed young man. Uncle Long and the others were overjoyed to see this. "Haha, you little fox, in order to not admit to your debt, you really do not hold back. I'm telling you. Fuck, there's no use in denying it. Now hand over your treasure, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Uncle Long continued to threaten him, but he couldn't hide the smile on his face. "I really don't have any treasure," Chi said dejectedly. The treasures they obtained had to be handed over to the public, so how could they dare to keep them for themselves? "So you're playing with us?" Hearing this, Uncle Long narrowed his eyes dangerously and said in a slightly displeased tone, "No, absolutely not. I wouldn't dare to play with you. I'm sincere in making this bet with you." The referee promised with a sincere look on his face. He almost swore to the heavens. "But you don't have any treasures." Uncle Long seemed to be very angry. "Wu, I didn't expect to lose. Master, you've really hurt your cute little fox." Yao wailed with a sad face. Uncle Long was helpless, but Lung Ruoxua was even more so. Her beastie wanted to gain something without paying anything, yet it still pushed the blame onto her after losing. What was this? Lung Ruoxua really wanted to shout out at the top of her lungs. She felt so wronged, even more so than Do-yi. "Uncle Long, since this little fox doesn't have anything good, I think we should just forget about it." At this moment, Shui Ran, who was originally planning to watch the show, saw the little fox's pitiful appearance, and her heart softened as she pleaded. When Uncle Long heard this, he exploded again and roared, "Forget it. No, we have so many people. How could he just let it go? This was a bet, you know? However much we can offer, it has to offer something of equal value. Otherwise, we won't be done." Then how much can you give me? I'll pay for it, okay?" Shui Ran sighed helplessly. She couldn't understand. They were all family, so why was he so calculative about money? It was really too stingy. "Thanks, Elder Shui Yuan. Are you really going to pay for it? No regrets." Hearing this, Uncle Long blinked his eyes and looked at Shui Ran as if she was a fool. Shui Ran's hair stood on end when she saw Uncle Long's fiery gaze. A sense of extreme uneasiness rose in her heart. However, as the ancestor of the Snow Fox tribe, she felt that she could not be weak in front of Uncle Long. Otherwise, she would become a big joke. "Didn't I tell you? I'll pay for it. What's there to regret? This is no big deal." Elder Shui Ran said delightedly, but she couldn't help but think to herself, how much money can there be? Seriously, he actually doubted her integrity. "Then, do you want to pay for May and Baby S?" Uncle Long asked after nodding. "Art. The king also lost the bet?" Shui Ran was shocked. This was a huge matter. The king of their Snow Fox race was absolutely not allowed to renege on a bet. The consequences would be too serious if word got out. At that time, the reputation of their Snow Fox race would be greatly tarnished. Of course, these few little beasts have all lost. In my opinion, you might as well pay for you and Ling's wagers as well. You must know that they have a very good relationship. Uncle Long pointed at the other 4 little beasts and suggested with a smirk. How much do they owe in total?" Elder Shueru was a little confused. She truly felt that she had caught a hot potato. However, among the other 4 little beasts, Baby was a relative of the king, and the little black fox called herself a snow fox. Although the other 2 were not from the fox clan, they had grown up with the king. If she did not do anything, it would seem a little unreasonable, right? Not much. The total is only 500,000 top-grade crystals. Uncle Long said with a smile. Plop. Hearing the price, Elder Shui Ran fell to the ground in shock. After she got up in a sorry state, she kept wiping the cold sweat off her forehead as her heart beat wildly. 500,000. 500,000. And it was a top-grade crystal. Wasn't this asking for the fox's life? Shui Ran, who had always been elegant, wanted to curse when she heard that there was so much money. This was a huge debt. A king. How did you lose so much money? How long would this take? Just think about it. The entire fortune of the Snow Fox tribe added together was not even worth 500,000 top-grade crystals. Perhaps only the 4 legendary beast kings would be able to fork out so much money. To the other beast clans, it was difficult. It's not just difficult. If he did not handle it well, all the snow foxes would have to sell themselves. At this thought, Elder Shui Ran broke out in cold sweat and did not respond for a long time. However, Uncle Long didn't rush her when he saw how frightened she was. He only looked at her with a pair of fiery eyes full of anticipation. After a long time, "How did you get so much money?" Shui Ran asked with an ashamed expression. "Is this a lot? If it wasn't for the fact that we don't have many valuable things on us, I'm afraid the total value would be even more than now," Uncle Long said with a smile. That's already quite a lot," Shui Ran said softly. She immediately lowered her head in embarrassment to look at Uncle Long, who was smiling smugly. She regretted it. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Why did he soften his heart for no reason? Now that he had taken on the debt of those little fellows, all of the Snow Fox tribe had to sell their bodies. Sop. If selling their bodies wasn't enough to pay off their debts, what else could they sell? Shui Ran was rather worried. "Elder Shui Ran, are you saying?" Uncle Long asked with uncertainty. I'll pay this sum of money. However, I don't have that much money right now, so I'll have to pay you back a little first." Shui Mu gritted her teeth and said with determination. "No problem. Elder Shueru is indeed a loyal friend." Uncle Long praised. Chapter 2580. Cooley who came to the door too. Hearing this, Shui Ran only wanted to cry out loud. Wu, this was a huge debt. He really didn't know when she would be able to repay him. "Senior Shui Yuan, you can actually work to pay off your debts." Wuxia was wearing a light armor. Seeing that Shui Ran seemed to be quite worried, he kindly suggested. Hearing this, Shui Ran was so depressed that she wanted to cry. It wasn't just her. Even Uncle Long sympathized with her. It wasn't easy to be a parent when she met these heartless little kids. "Thank you for your suggestion. I will consider it." The polite Shui Ran replied with a sad face. Yes, you should think about it. We won't disturb you any longer." After saying that, Yao, who was getting more and more mischievous, pulled his little friends and planned to find a place to hide. Seeing that the little black fox was about to leave, Shui Ran quickly hugged it. "Wait, I still have something to ask you," Shui Ran said anxiously. "What did he say?" Yao blinked his eyes and asked in confusion. "Why did you say that you are a snow fox?" Shui Ran asked curiously. Actually, she had wanted to ask this question for a long time, but she had never had the chance. No matter what, she couldn't miss it today. She had to get to the bottom of it, or else she would have owed so much money for nothing. "I am." Yao played dumb. "You're black." Shui Ran reminded him helplessly. Why was this little fox so difficult to deal with? He was so sneaky and didn't talk about the main topic. She was so anxious. "Then I'm still a snow fox. If you don't believe me, you can ask the demon," the judge said irresponsibly, then glanced at the May. "That's right, it's a snow fox." The demon nodded helplessly. How could it be a snow fox? Shui Ran was going crazy. Why was it so tiring to talk to these little beasts? "It's mutated." Lung Ruoxia, who couldn't stand it any longer, revealed the answer. As soon as Snow Spanworm heard that it had mutated, it immediately looked at Richard with shining eyes. She couldn't be blamed for being ignorant. This was the first time she had heard of it in the immortal realm, so it was no wonder she didn't know. "Don't you have any ideas about me? I'm not interested in you." Seeing Shui Ran release a wolf-like green light, Richard couldn't help but say with a little fear, Don't worry, I'm not interested in you. I'm just curious about your identity. Shuiran was going crazy. She really didn't know what this little fox was thinking. Can you not be so carefree? However, it was obvious that Shuiran's idea was difficult to realize. Even though she said so, Richard still said with a face of disbelief, "Do you think I'll believe you? I'm so cute, and there's no one who doesn't want to hit on me. So I'm sorry, your lies are useless against me." These words made Shuiran dumbfounded. In an instant, she really wanted to cry. This little fox was really too good at angering people. She was simply a model example of angering people to death. Sob. Why was her life so hard to meet such a little fox who didn't play by the rules? Shuiran was deeply worried. Thanks, however, she didn't want to miss the opportunity to get to know more about Gu. After giving Xueqiao a look, Shuiran took a step back and let Xueqiao continue asking. She thought to herself, the snow bridge is a male, and this little fox is also a male, so it can finally be safe, right? But obviously, she had underestimated Richard's imagination and destructive power. Seeing that the snow fox that wanted to ask the truth had changed, but was still staring at it with shining eyes, Richard simply crossed his arms and acted as if he had met a bad person, loudly saying, "Go away. Go away. The beauty trap is useless against me. I like women." To a man, this young master swears to never obey. After she finished speaking, other than Lung Ruoxue, the demon, and the rest of the beasts, everyone present was petrified. When they came back to their senses, they were once again in a state of confusion. What the hell is this? Snowbridge looked as if he had been deeply provoked, and he shouted with a red face and a thick neck, "I'm not interested in you. I just want to know how you mutated." After living for so long, Snowbridge had to admit that he had never encountered such a thing before, let alone a fox with such a personality. Richard could be considered to have set a new record, and it even let him know what it meant to be a fox with a mental disorder. After Yao heard what Snowbridge said, he said with a relieved expression, "Just for this? Really, why didn't you say so earlier?" Snowbridge was also driven mad by the referee. He deeply felt that his patients had been trained like never before today. However, the test of his heart's endurance was still to come. Following that, the Snowbridge heard the referee's conflicted expression, and he said very seriously, "I don't know. If you really want to know, you'll have to ask my dead parents." Snowy Bridge was once again at a loss. He had already died, so how could he ask? Was he supposed to commit suicide? You can't do anything about it, can you? I knew it. Yao glanced at Xueqiao's expression and added, "This is really infuriating." After saying that, it happily pulled the Mei and the other little beasts away. Snowbridge was really quite agitated. His heart was beating wildly, and the blood in his body was flowing in reverse. His face was also red from holding back, and he did not react for a long time. Just as Uncle Long and the others were racking their brains to think of a way to comfort this big fox, the Snowbridge finally came back to its senses. As soon as he raised his head, he saw the sympathetic eyes of Uncle Long and the others. He couldn't stay calm again and shouted, "Why are you guys looking at me like that? I'm fine. You're not allowed to look." Snowbridge felt that he was really going crazy. When Uncle Long and the others heard his words, they all thought in their hearts, "He's really shocked." After that, the Snowbridge could no longer bear the sympathetic gazes of Uncle Long and the others, and it went into the forest to draw circles. Xueqiao left in anger, and Shuiran was afraid that the crowd would look at her with sympathy, so she also disappeared in front of the crowd. However, her heart was filled with grief and indignation. They were the two ancestors with the highest seniority in the Snow Fox tribe, and were also grand elders. To think that there would be a day where they would be pitted. Just thinking about it made her feel aggrieved. More importantly, no little fox dared to make them so crazy. They had seen everything today. The two old foxes went to draw circles gloomily. Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but laugh in their hearts. In fact, they did this today to please Shuer. Otherwise, they would feel sorry for her if she looked sad and depressed all day. And now, the effect was obviously not bad. At the very least, the smile on Shuer's face had only increased ever since she had returned from the Floating Clouds Mountain. In order to distract Shuer, they had racked their brains. And since there was an initial effect, they decided to continue to work hard. In reality, Uncle Long and the others felt that her plan was flawless. However, how could Lung Ruoxue not know what they were thinking? She was touched when she faced Uncle Long and the others. Hence, she decided that she would keep this evildoer hidden in her heart and miss him silently. She couldn't let the people around her worry about her anymore. Chapter 2581. Cooley, who came to the door 3. After thinking about it this way, she quickly adjusted her state of mind and asked Uncle Long and the others about their next plan. She knew that after Uncle Long and the others had initially transformed the land of demons, they were going to take over the sphere of influence around the land of demons. The land of demons was very close to the Ning family's god domain and the Endless Sea, so there was naturally no need to worry about the areas that bordered the land of demons. As for the other territories that had owners, they were only occupied by some small to medium powers. It was very easy to integrate them. Dongfeng Yu was assigned the task of integrating them, and Lung Ruoxue became a hands-off manager, occasionally going into closed-door cultivation. Although it was said to be closed-door cultivation, in reality, it was mainly because Lung Ruoxue had freed up most of her time to refine weapons and refine pills with First Elder, Shen Nua, and the others. After the First Elder, Shen Nua, and the rest were defeated in Rime Ice, they returned to the main force to reunite with the rest. When they heard that Lung Ruoxue had plans to enter seclusion to refine pills and weapons, they hit it off with her and decided to enter seclusion to continue improving their weapon and pill refinement skills, as well as their abilities. In reality, they were all great figures in their respective fields that no one could compare to. However, the blow that the battle with Fog Ice had given them was too great. This also made them deeply aware that it was not enough to only know how to refine pills and weapons. They also had to work hard to improve their strength and not drag others down again. It was enough to experience such a thing once. After making such a decision, Lung Ruoxue started spinning around like a top. In the morning, she would discuss the art of weapon refinement with the First Elder and the other weapon refiners. In the afternoon, she would refine pills with Shen Nua and the other pill refiners. At night, she would fiddle with the array. Such days continued for more than half a month. The beasts who did not see their master were all listless like frost-beaten eggplants. Shuiyuan, who had nothing to do and no debts to repay, felt much more relaxed after Lung Ruoxue promised to help her pay her debts. Seeing such a situation, she, who wanted to do something for Lung Ruoxue, took up the responsibility of teaching Lung Ruoxue's beasts. It was a pity that those frustrated little beasts didn't give her face. Not to mention letting her teach them, it would be good if they didn't mess with her. However, the resistance of the little beasts had also aroused the fighting spirit of the snow spanworm. Later on, the infected snow bridge had also joined the team of teaching the little beasts. With the addition of the snow bridge, the work of the snow fiends seemed to be much easier, but the little beasts would still resist. Therefore, the two big foxes who were of high seniority had been tricked together. This definitely fulfilled the 4 words of well face the difficulties together. In the past half a month, Dongfeng Yu's recruitment work had progressed rapidly. At first, he had wanted to use a tender-hearted attack to influence the small and medium-sized forces with his noble sentiments, and make them join their big family voluntarily. This had also wasted a lot of time. However, he did not expect the small and medium-sized factions to be so stubborn. No matter how much he tried to flatter them, they refused to join Demon City. In the end, it was Uncle Long who said to use force if the soft approach didn't work. He was shameless, but they couldn't use force either. Just like that, Dongfeng Yu thoroughly carried out Uncle Long's intentions. With lightning speed, he swept through the small and medium-sized forces, taking them in by force in less than a day. Dongfeng became even more depressed at the comparison. He deeply felt that the time he had wasted was not worth it. If he had known that they would use force in the end, why would he have wasted his breath on them? After Uncle Long found out the reason for Dongfeng Yu's depression, he only said one thing. It was just that they were too disciplined. If they were treasures, they would probably not even take a day. Dongfeng Yu felt like kneeling after hearing what he said. He could not help but roar in his heart. Can't you be more reserved? Wasn't he implying that he was useless? What was even more infuriating was that after Lung Ruoxua found out about this situation, she actually stared at him for a long time before sighing heavily and saying, "Take it slow, it'll be better." How detestable. What the hell is this? What do you mean it'll get better? Dong Fengyu was about to go crazy. However, Lung Ruoxua didn't have the time to comfort his glass heart. She tossed the matter aside and went into seclusion again. After taking in all the influences in the vicinity of the Devil's Land, the area of the Devil's Land rapidly expanded by a few times. As Lung Ruoxua had appointed Uncle Long as the chief steward of the Devil's City, he was in charge of coordinating and arranging everything. What he had to do now was to open up all the influences in the Devil's Land. This was a huge project. Uncle Long counted the number of people on his side and realized that they didn't have enough people to carry out such a huge project. One had to know that he had already activated the beasts of the Endless Sea, but there was still a large gap in numbers. What was this good? Uncle Long was worried. Uncle Long, who had been frowning for several days, received a report from the Silver Rat King one day that some white tigers had come to the outskirts of Demon City's forest. His eyes immediately lit up and he was extremely excited. Wasn't this exactly a coolie that came to his door? Uncle Long waved his hand and said to Dong Fengyu and the others, "Let's go take a look and see what those white tigers are doing here." What else could he do? They're just asking for a beating. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. Then the crowd, who had been waiting for a good show, followed Uncle Long out to welcome him. At this moment, the white tigers in the forest, under the lead of the White Tiger Race's Grand Elder, were all like headless flies, wandering around in the forest. The more they wanted to go out, the more they just had to go around in circles. This fact made the White Tiger First Elder deeply depressed. "First Elder, we might be lost," a white tiger beside the head elder said in a small voice. It didn't dare to speak too loudly, or it would affect the other white tiger's momentum. "You don't need to tell me that," the first elder of the White Tiger clan said in an unpleasant tone. "What do we do now?" The White Tiger elder said helplessly. There were already voices of opposition in the clan when they came to ask for peace. If they knew that they were trapped in the forest without even seeing the other party, wouldn't they laugh to death? This was really too embarrassing. If it had known earlier, it would not have taken the credit. It regretted it. Cold mix. The White Tiger First Elder continued to speak in a vicious tone. "Do you want a bottle of wine?" Suddenly, a mocking voice entered the White Tiger's ears. The Great Elder of White Tiger immediately raised his head and put on a smile. "Uncle Long, we're here to sincerely ask for peace. Please give us some face." "Sure. However, I'll have to see what kind of compensation your White Tiger race can offer before I can decide how much face I'll give you," Uncle Long said with a smile, like a profiteer. "Don't worry, we're very sincere," the White Tiger First Elder said very diligently. "All right, let's have a chat inside." Uncle Long was very generous with his invitation, and even let a few white tigers walk in front. The Great Elder of the White Tiger was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. He walked in front with his heart trembling in fear. He wanted to chat with Uncle Long on the way, but he found that Uncle Long and Dong Fengyu were walking behind him, muttering something. This made him extremely uneasy. Dong Fengyu, who was walking behind them, asked Uncle Long in a low voice, "You really want to make peace with them?" "Of course, but it still depends on the conditions. I won't do it if the conditions don't meet my requirements." Uncle Long nodded with a smile. "You don't need to tell Schwer first?" Dong Fengyu asked fearfully. They better not ruin Schwer's plans. "No need, it's just a peace talk," Uncle Long said disapprovingly. "But the White Tiger race has a grudge against us." Dong Fengyu couldn't help but remind him. Although the main culprit, the White Tiger King, was already in their hands, there were still many voices within the White Tiger race that wanted to go against them. These people had to be eliminated. "I know. Don't worry. We're just trying to make peace with them. It's not like we won't take revenge." Uncle Long laughed evilly. Ugh. Dong Fengyu was confused. Wouldn't peace be the same as not taking revenge? Did he misunderstand her? However, looking at Uncle Long's expression, he couldn't ask such a question. Otherwise he would think that he was too stupid. However, This feeling of having one's heart and liver scratched was really not a good feeling. In a while, you'll have to look at my eyes and act accordingly, understand? Uncle Long continued. He had already made up his mind to scheme against the White Tiger race. Not only that, he wanted to squeeze out all of their remaining value, and not take the White Tiger race's sincere request for peace for once. Oh, okay. Dongfeng Yu agreed gloomily. He was in a complicated mood. It seemed that he had been locked up for so long that even his intelligence could not keep up with the mainstream people's footsteps. Sob. This fact was really too hurtful. Dongfeng Yu, who had been depressed all the way, seemed to be in a daze as he followed the mighty team back to the encampment. When they arrived at the living room, everyone took their seats. As the representative of Lung Ruoxia's side, Uncle Long started chatting with the White Tiger Great Elder. He had asked all 8 generations of the White Tiger First Elder's ancestors, but he did not get to the point. The White Tiger First Elder was so anxious that he broke out in a cold sweat. Uncle Long, shouldn't we talk about making peace? The First Elder of the White Tiger clan got straight to the point when he finally caught a gap in their conversation. There's no rush. Let's first understand your personal situation. Uncle Long said with a smile. Why would he want to know its personal situation? Looking for a marriage for it? The First Elder of White Tiger looked at Uncle Long with resentment. He was roaring in his heart. Let's get back to the topic. The atmosphere here was too tense, and it didn't want to stay any longer. Otherwise, it would be driven crazy by this Uncle Long in front of it sooner or later. However, Uncle Long clearly did not intend to follow the White Tiger First Elder's plan. He only smiled faintly and said, We'll know more about your personal situation so that we can better bond, right? ITLL helped to deepen our relationship. However, the Great Elder clearly didn't understand what Uncle Long meant by deepening their relationship. Was it necessary to go this far just to make peace? Chapter 2582. White Tiger's Sincere First Elder, 1. The White Tiger race's Great Elder was almost depressed by Uncle Long's words. However, Uncle Long clearly didn't care about what the other party thought. He pulled the White Tiger race's Great Elder, who had a bitter expression on his face, and continued to chat about all sorts of things. Previously, they had been talking about the 8 generations of Grand Elder's ancestors. In just a short while, they had risen to the height of the entire divine realm. Especially when Uncle Long asked the White Tiger First Elder what he thought of the divine realm structure. The White Tiger First Elder was so scared that he stammered for a long time, unable to say a complete sentence. Woo. How was he supposed to answer this? This was related to God Lord Mist Ripple's rule. Although the God Lord of Rime Mist now had a great enemy like Lung Ruoxia, and the victor of their last battle was quite obvious, the God world was still in the hands of the God Lord of Rime Mist. If he said that the God Lord of Rime Mist was about to die, Lung Ruoxia would be happy, but what about their White Tiger race? If these words were to reach God Lord Mist Ripple's mouth, the White Tiger race would probably be exterminated. However, it did not dare to say anything about Lung Ruoxia in front of Uncle Long and the others. Otherwise, they would not be able to walk out of the evil demon's land alive. In short, it was not good for him to comment on any of them with his personal feelings. He would easily get into trouble. Thinking of this, the White Tiger Great Elder simply wanted to kneel in front of Uncle Dragon. Woo. Could you not ask him such a difficult question? They were here to seek peace, not to die. And their White Tiger race currently couldn't afford to offend either of these 2 parties. However, Uncle Long was not easy to fool. Seeing that Uncle Long was forcing him to say something, the White Tiger First Elder really wanted to roll his eyes and faint. But that was obviously not realistic. Great Elder. Come on, tell me. It's okay, we're just having an exchange, no one will tell anyone. Seeing that the White Tiger Great Elder seemed to be in a dilemma, Uncle Long had to continue coaxing him. This. The White Tiger First Elder looked at Uncle Long anxiously, unable to speak. I don't think God Lord Fogripple is a good person. All of a sudden, a resentful voice rang out in everyone's ears. Everyone took a look and saw that it was the slightly angry Dongfeng Yu. When the White Tiger First Elder heard this, he frowned. How was it supposed to respond to this? The Great Elder of the White Tiger clan could only remain silent. However, Dongfeng still asked for his opinion as if he was talking about something trivial. First Elder, what do you think? That. I'm not familiar with rhyme, so I can't comment on her. After hesitating for a while, the White Tiger First Elder finally made up his mind. If it was possible, he actually wanted to say, "You big shots are fighting, so don't involve these little ghosts, okay?" They couldn't afford to be tormented. However, even if it had 10 times the courage, it would not dare to say it. Not familiar? Didn't your White Tiger race collude with Rime Ice to attack our land of evil demons a while ago? What have you forgotten? Dongfeng Yu sneered, cursing the White Tiger's great elder in his heart. He's still playing dumb at a time like this? Are we that easy to get rid of? As expected, Uncle Long and the others' faces turned black as soon as Dongfeng Yu finished speaking. The White Tiger's expressions changed drastically as well. The first elder of the White Tiger clan was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to say for a moment. After a long silence, the White Tiger First Elder put on a sincere expression again and said, "It's true that our White Tiger race was in the wrong in that matter. However, that decision was made by the king and a few of our ancestors. Although I'm the Grand Elder of the White Tiger race, my status is still below them. Therefore, even if I opposed that decision, they wouldn't listen. With no other choice, I could only let them do as they please. Thanks, I'm not saying these words to shirk responsibility. I just want to make it clear that I'm a peace-loving tiger. I want to live in peace and have friendly relations with all of you. That's why I'm here today representing the White Tiger race to negotiate peace with all of you. Please believe in the sincerity of our White Tiger race. As for the disrespect that we've shown to all of you in the past, I express my deepest apologies. I hope that there will be an opportunity to make up for it. I'm willing to represent the White Tiger race to compensate all of you." The White Tiger First Elder's words almost touched him. What a sincere speech. The other party would also be touched, right? However, when Uncle Long and the others heard these words, they were clearly not moved to tears as the White Tiger race's Grand Elder had hoped. They merely looked at the White Tiger race's Grand Elder indifferently, almost causing the White Tiger race's Grand Elder to have goosebumps. What did that mean? What did the other party mean by this? Don't believe it? Or did he not believe in the sincerity of their White Tiger race? The White Tiger First Elder was depressed again. He had already said so many touching words, but how could the other party be so indifferent? This was really disappointing. Great Elder White Tiger, you said that the matter of you following Wuxia to ambush us was decided by your king and a few ancestors of the White Tiger race, right? Dongfeng Yu asked after a long time. That's right. The great ancestors were actually deceived by our king, and thought that Lung Ruoxua had done something unforgivable to our White Tiger race. That's why they joined forces with Wu Yan in a fit of anger. However, I've already explained the matter to them clearly, and they're deeply ashamed of being deceived. They even asked me to apologize to you on their behalf. I hope that you'll be magnanimous and not hold it against them. The White Tiger First Elder explained. What a good lie, what a good explanation. Why didn't you explain earlier? Dongfeng Yu sneered as he raised his question. I told them, but they didn't listen. They even thought that I was in cahoots with you guys, that I was a traitor of the White Tiger race, and even restricted my movements. If it wasn't for the fact that the king still needed me later on, I'm afraid I would still be locked up. As the White Tiger race's Grand Elder spoke, he started to feel wronged. He thought back to the time when he was treading on thin ice in the White Tiger race. There was no place in his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys that didn't hurt. That period of time was also the darkest period of his life, since he became the White Tiger race's Grand Elder. Luckily, he had pulled through everything now. So they're willing to listen to you now? Dongfeng Yu asked one question after another. Now, they can't refuse to listen even if they want to. The White Tiger race will be managed by me temporarily. Speaking of this, the White Tiger First Elder's mood immediately improved. In front of those ancestors, he could finally hold his head high. So you're saying that you can make the decision to seek peace with the White Tiger race? Dongfeng Yu was still worried. Of course. Please believe me, if I can't make the decision, I wouldn't dare to bring my clansmen here to seek peace. The White Tiger First Elder guaranteed, with a proud expression. Since that's the case, let's talk about the conditions for peace. Dongfang Yu had finally relented. The White Tiger Great Elder's expression relaxed upon hearing this, and he immediately became happy and encouraged, as if the two sides had already successfully made peace. Give me 500,000 top-grade crystals first. A voice suddenly interrupted. Then a snow-white figure hurriedly strode in from outside. Xuemei? The Great Elder of the White Tiger clan looked at the snow fox that was approaching them with a money-grubbing look on its face, and his mind was in a mess. What was this person doing here? That's right, I heard that the Snow Fox tribe had run away without the White Tiger tribe knowing. So they came here? It knew it. Lung Ruoxia had taken away so many magical beasts from the Longevity Mountain. How could she possibly let the Snow Fox tribe off? This was too unscientific. And now, only the White Tiger tribe remained on the entire Longevity Mountain. With this, they had truly become the commanders of the light pole that lived up to their name. Chapter 2583. White Tiger's Sincere First Elder 2. First Elder of the White Tiger clan, give us 500,000 top-grade crystals first. This is also the first condition we've agreed to. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Xueran raised her fluffy head and said arrogantly, The White Tiger First Elder became depressed again after hearing this. Then he looked at Uncle Long, who was obviously in charge, and then glanced at Dongfang Yu, who was silently drinking tea from a teacup. He then turned his gaze back to Xueran, and his depression seemed to have become more serious. What the hell is this? Didn't they already start negotiating? Why did it suddenly cost 500,000 top-grade crystals? They hadn't even started the negotiations, and they were already asking for so much money. When it came time to negotiate, wouldn't the White Tiger race be going all out? To be honest, for a beast race with a deep foundation and a long history like the White Tiger race, 500,000 top-grade crystals was really not a lot. However, it was definitely not a small amount either. Moreover, it wasn't like the White Tiger race couldn't afford it. However, 500,000 top-grade crystals had already been taken away before the negotiations even started. Could the negotiations still continue? The White Tiger First Elder was very suspicious of this. However, Uncle Long didn't say a word, and Dongfang Yu was just drinking his tea as if this matter didn't concern him at all. With their attitudes, it was as if they had already silently agreed with Xueran's words. What should he do? Seeing that the White Tiger First Elder did not give a response after a long time, Xueran said with a look of sympathy, It doesn't matter if you don't have 500,000 top-grade crystals. You can also take items of equivalent value. After saying this, Xueran sighed deeply and thought the White Tiger race had actually fallen to such a state? He couldn't even take out 500,000 top-grade crystals. In truth, the reason why she wanted to rob the White Tiger race of 500,000 top-grade crystals was to repay the debt that Lung Ruoxia had helped her pay. Even though that little ass Lung Ruoxia didn't ask it to pay, it wasn't a good habit to be in debt. It was afraid that this kind of thing would happen again. What if it got used to being in debt? And the bad habit of owing debts absolutely couldn't be allowed to develop. Therefore, since the White Tiger race had delivered themselves to his doorstep, he wanted to rob them of a sum of money as well. Who asked him to feel that the White Tiger race was rich? Not only was the White Tiger race rich, the 4 King Divine Beast races were like moving treasure troves for the beast race. They were all rich to the point of overflowing oil. Therefore, robbing the rich to help the poor was to rob things like them. The White Tiger Great Elder looked at Xueran's increasingly sympathetic eyes, and the depression in his heart only increased. He took a few deep breaths and calmed himself down. Then he looked at Uncle Long with uncertainty and asked, Is this the condition before the negotiation? In other words, he was saying, Uncle Long, Dongfang Yu, do you also agree? However, Dongfang Yu didn't say anything, because he had already said that they could negotiate the conditions. Why did he suddenly say something like this? Uncle Long, on the other hand, didn't have as many concerns as he did. He nodded and said, Yes, please do as Elder Shui Yuan says. This time, the White Tiger First Elder completely gave up. Seeing the White Tiger First Elder's ashen face, Uncle Long consoled him kindly. Great Elder White Tiger, don't worry. We won't ask you to pay right now. You just need to pay us together with the conditions we've agreed on. All right then. Hearing this, the White Tiger First Elder did not feel happy at all. Shui Ran's goal had been achieved, so she sat down opposite the White Tiger First Elder with a smile, clearly ready to listen to their negotiations. Thanks. Looking at Shui Ran, the White Tiger First Elder's mood became extremely downcast. He really did not want to see this old fox right now, but he did not dare to chase him away. The best way was to not see him. However, Shui Ran clearly didn't realize that she was already annoying. In order to bond with the White Tiger Great Elder, she even took the initiative to switch seats with a white tiger sitting next to the Great Elder, and then stared at the white tiger next to her without blinking. The First Elder of the White Tiger clan felt uncomfortable under Shui Ran's gaze, and he unconsciously released a cold aura from his body. Shui Ran, who was slow to notice this, didn't retreat after sensing the cold aura around her. Instead, she enjoyed it. You can negotiate now. Seeing that no one was going to start a war of words, Shui Ran was getting impatient. Cough, cough. Let's start. Uncle Long coughed helplessly and said, "All right, let's begin." The White Tiger First Elder was so depressed that he didn't know what to say. Why was the big white fox beside him so close to him? Could it ask for protection? As if she had a telepathic connection with the White Tiger Great Elder, Shui Ran reached out her huge claw and patted the White Tiger Great Elder's shoulder. "Don't be afraid. They're all honest people. They won't frame you. Besides, it'll protect you." Uncle Long, who was known as an honest man, had a completely different reaction from Dongfang Yu. Uncle Long was smiling naively, while Dongfang Yu's face was cold. The White Tiger Great Elder didn't want to comment on the meaning of the word honest. In his opinion, if these guys in front of him could be considered honest, then there would be no evil people in this world. Then the whole world would be harmonious. Everyone would help each other, love each other, help each other, be civilized, and be polite to build a harmonious great divine realm together. But now, the Great Elder couldn't help but curl his lips in his heart. In your dreams, none of the people before him were law-abiding citizens. Otherwise, God Lord Fogripple would have laughed so hard that he would wake up in his sleep. He would not be in his current state, so mad that he wanted to bang his head against a wall. The White Tiger First Elder swore from the bottom of his heart that he did not think well of these honest people. I wonder what kind of conditions you all have for the peace negotiations. As long as it's within our White Tiger race's capabilities, we'll definitely try our best to fulfill them. After silently lamenting in his heart for a while, the White Tiger Great Elder decided to ignore Shui Ran's disturbance and get straight to the point. He couldn't waste any more time, as his wife and children were still waiting for his safe return at home. Try to satisfy? So you're saying that you won't be able to satisfy all of the conditions we've proposed? Dongfang Yu gave his own opinion after listening to the White Tiger First Elder's words. Today, he and Uncle Long's division of labor was that Uncle Long would play the good guy while he played the bad guy. He would be the one to ask all the annoying things. This was also the task that Uncle Long had given him. In Uncle Long's words, this task was not difficult, and he had to complete it. Therefore, he was very responsible in finding trouble. Sure enough, the White Tiger First Elder continued to feel depressed after hearing this. He could see that Dongfang Yu was deliberately making him unhappy. Did he have to grab onto its faulty wording? Although it did mean that. And the reason why he said that was also to give the White Tiger race a chance to bargain. After all, wasn't this what negotiation was like? They would haggle with each other, and finally decide on the terms of the negotiation. White Tiger's First Elder had planned this out well before he came. The only thing he didn't expect was that the other party didn't follow the normal negotiation procedures. What could he do? Saying that he was what Dongfang Yu said? That would definitely be asking for a beating. However, he didn't dare to make any promises either. If the other party were to demand an exorbitant price, the White Tiger race would truly have no way out. As a member of the White Tiger race, and also the Grand Elder, how could he bear to see the White Tiger race decline? If they could negotiate, they might even be able to give the White Tiger race a chance to catch their breath. That was what it thought when it came here. However, at this moment, it wasn't so sure. In the eyes of the White Tiger race, they didn't have the slightest advantage at all. From the start, the White Tiger race had already decided to crush them. And the current state of the White Tiger race was also determined. They didn't dare to fight head-on with them. Woo. They couldn't afford to. They would definitely be the ones to be crushed. Chapter 2584. White Tiger's Sincere First Elder 3. Thinking of this, the White Tiger Great Elder became listless and explained seriously. If we can do it, we'll definitely satisfy you. However, everyone should know that the situation of our White Tiger race isn't too good. Hence, I'm afraid. The White Tiger Great Elder only finished half of his sentence before he looked at Uncle Long and Dongfeng Yu hesitantly. Among the people present, these two were obviously in charge, while the others were just bystanders. Therefore, it put all its energy into these two. It's fine. If your White Tiger race is unable to fulfill our conditions, then work for us to pay off your debts. Our demon city is currently in the development and construction phase, and we need a lot of manpower and resources. You all have strong bodies and are extremely strong tigers. You are the most suitable workers. I have high hopes for you all. Uncle Long said with a smile. This works too? The White Tiger First Elder blinked his eyes as if he had just heard a fantasy story. His face was filled with disbelief and his mouth was agape. Great Elder White Tiger, aren't we very understanding? Uncle Long asked with an evil smile. Yep. The White Tiger Great Elder replied with a bitter face. He could see that Uncle Dragon and the others were possessed by vampires. If they had money, they had to pay. If they didn't have money, they had to pay. In short, if they wanted to live in peace, they had to pay the price. Otherwise, there was no peace. Then as long as you pay half of the White Tiger race's wealth, and another half of your clansmen to work for us, we'll negotiate for the time being. Uncle Long didn't beat around the bush this time, and went straight to the point. After he finished speaking, he looked at the White Tiger First Elder expectantly, waiting for him to make a statement. The White Tiger Great Elder finally heard the other party say something substantial, but he definitely didn't expect that the other party would not only take away half of the White Tiger race's assets accumulated over the years, but also ask them to contribute half of their people to help build the land of evil demons. It was not a problem to pay half of the people, but wasn't the amount of wealth required a little too much? One had to know that the price in its heart was a third of the White Tiger race's wealth. This half had definitely exceeded its expectations. Seeing that the Great Elder of White Tiger was deep in thought and did not give any response for a long time, Dongfeng Yu sneered and said, Great Elder, it's fine if you want to refuse. After all, this is your freedom. But before you refuse, you'd better think this through. Right now, we only want half of your White Tiger race's assets. If we completely fall out with each other, and the White Tiger race becomes our property, I'm afraid that your White Tiger race won't even be able to keep half of your assets. At that time, you White Tigers who are still considered free will also become our servants. At that time, what kind of situation would you guys be in? Wouldn't the White Tiger race be very pitiful then? Shui Ran immediately shouted after hearing this. It's not just pitiful. Taking the initiative to ask for peace and being held captive are two completely different things. So, Great Elder, you'd better think carefully. With our current relationship, what would happen if it developed to the worst? Could it be that you think that the White Tiger race can escape this calamity? The reason why we haven't dealt with you guys yet is not because we're afraid of you or because we've forgotten what you've done, but because we don't have the time. Dongfeng Yu threatened with a cold face. His words had already caused the hearts of the other White Tigers to tremble. Wasn't what he said exactly the same? There was no time to deal with them now. When the others had time, they would be the unlucky ones. So scary. The divine realm was so dangerous. The White Tiger elders who had followed the White Tiger First Elder to the land of demons were extremely regretful at this moment. Why did they have to come and get involved in this mess? If they hadn't heard the other party's threat, wouldn't they have felt much less pressured? But now, as long as they thought about the tragic experience they might experience in the future, their hearts would all be tangled together. First Elder, just agree. The White Tiger Elder, who was sitting on the other side of the White Tiger First Elder, whispered. Hearing this, the White Tiger First Elder suddenly raised his head, and saw the eager eyes of the other White Tiger elders. The meaning in their eyes was that they hoped that he would agree. Sigh. The great elder let out a soft sigh. It seemed like the other elders were all frightened. However, it couldn't deny that the other party was telling the truth. If he were to reject the other party's conditions, his White Tiger race might really end up like what Dongfangyu had said. Forget it. Money was just a worldly possession, but his life and freedom were more important. Thanks. With this thought in mind, the White Tiger First Elder nodded his head without hesitation. I agree to your conditions. Ha ha ha. This is more like it. I told you Great Elder is a wise man. Having achieved his goal, Uncle Long was in a good mood. I want to know, what do you mean by temporary peace? Although he agreed, the Great Elder didn't want the other party to let his clan off for the time being. Otherwise, if these people were to come to them on a whim and cause trouble again, who would they cry to? First Elder, you don't need to mind the word temporarily, really. Uncle Long consoled. How could he not care? First Elder's face was sullen, and he looked like he was asking for answers. Uncle Long had no choice but to tell the truth with sincerity. Temporarily means that after the peace negotiations, we will not take the initiative to attack you. However, if you provoke us, then our peace negotiations will naturally be nullified. So, how long this temporary period will last will depend on you. At least, we will not take the initiative to break the agreement. If someone on our side breaks the contract, what about the price we have to pay? Will you return it to us? The First Elder of the White Tiger clan asked carefully. Are you dreaming? We haven't even asked you to compensate for the emotional damage you've caused us. Do you still want to take back the things you used to negotiate? Dongfangyu asked in disbelief as if he had just heard a joke. He looked at the Grand Elder with eyes full of contempt. I'm just asking out of curiosity. I'm just curious. The White Tiger First Elder said in embarrassment and shame. It seemed like the other party knew that there was some element of instability on their side. Otherwise, they would not have said so. From the looks of it now, if he wanted to maintain a long-term peaceful relationship with Lung Ruoxue and the others, he had to strengthen his restraints on his clansmen. Otherwise, he would have to pay the price and give the other party a legitimate reason to attack his White Tiger tribe. How depressed would he be? No. It would never allow such a thing to happen. The White Tiger Great Elder secretly made up his mind that from now on, he would carry out military management of the clansmen. He would use an iron fist policy to make the clansmen understand how important it was to obey orders. He would personally take care of this matter. It's decided. In a short moment, the White Tiger Grand Elder had decided on the future management of the White Tiger race. After the general direction of the peace negotiations was confirmed, they discussed the details. In the end, to show the importance both parties placed on this peace negotiations, they even signed a contract. It was clearly stated on the contract that as long as the White Tiger race behaved themselves, Lung Ruoxue's side guaranteed that they wouldn't bear a grudge against the White Tiger race for their previous actions, and wouldn't take the initiative to find trouble. After the White Tiger Grand Elder received the contract that guaranteed the safety of his tribe, he left the land of demons with the other White Tiger elders in a happy and relaxed mood. He also promised that he would quickly arrange for his tribesmen to come over and help Uncle Long and the others build Demon City. After watching the elders of the White Tiger race leave, Dongfangyu looked at Uncle Long speechlessly and said, "Is this what you meant when you said that peace is peace, and revenge is revenge? You bastard." The contract had already been signed. Was this still a different matter? Yes, yes. Uncle Long nodded with a smile. He did not have as many worries as Dongfangyu. Old whale, if you don't make things clear today, I'm not done with you. Dongfangyu's face turned black with anger when he saw Uncle Long's infuriating expression. He yelled at the top of his lungs. Senior Dongfangyu, you're the famous war god of the divine realm. Your intelligence can't be that low, right? Could it be that you only know how to use brute force? Didn't Master Yu teach you to use your brain for everything? AI. If you were half as smart as Dongfang Lin, I wouldn't have to worry so much about you. Uncle Long said worriedly after staring at Dongfangyu for a long time. Hearing this, Dongfangyu's face turned even uglier. His eyes were spitting fire as he said fiercely, What do you mean, old whale? You think my IQ is low, huh? Dongfeng Yu's expression was extremely unkind, as if he was going to start a fight if he didn't make things clear. However, Uncle Long wasn't afraid of him and continued to smile. I didn't say anything wrong. I can tell that you're not good at scheming. Uncle Long stopped teasing him. All of a sudden, a light-hearted voice with a deep chuckle sounded in their ears. Dongfeng Yu hurriedly turned around and looked at the owner of the voice with an aggrieved expression. Swear, Uncle Long is bullying me. Chapter 2585. Bribing Tigerheart. 1. Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long were in a state of confusion when they heard Dongfeng Yu's words. Neither of them had expected that the fellow who usually looked serious would actually learn how to tell on others. Was this the so-called one who is marked by one's company? Senior Dongfeng Yu, how can a great senior like you, who is so respected by the masses, complain about me? You should love and protect your juniors. Uncle Long was confused for a moment, then immediately criticized him in dissatisfaction, and called himself a junior. When Dongfeng Yu heard Uncle Long's words, he couldn't help but pout and say, Stop, stop. Don't call me senior, you're not much younger than me. He couldn't afford to be called this guy's senior. Every time he was called senior, he was the one who was schemed against in the end. He was already afraid of this. Senior Dongfeng Yu, you've hurt me so much. Uncle Long said with a bitter expression when he saw that Dongfeng Yu was not falling for his trick. Swear, you're done with your work? Dongfeng Yu rolled his eyes at Uncle Long before shifting the topic to Lung Ruoxue. No, I just came out to take a walk and rest. Lung Ruoxue smiled. Oh, that's right, Swear. This fellow has made peace with the White Tiger race behind your back. In the future, we can't take the initiative to make a move against the White Tiger race. Dongfeng Yu continued to complain and told Lung Ruoxue what had happened. When Uncle Long heard this, he was speechless and didn't know what to say. Why was this guy still not done? Don't worry, we can't make a move against the White Tiger race. Someone will definitely make a move. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. What? Dongfeng Yu didn't understand. What did that mean? Could it be that his IQ was really not high? Why did he feel like he was listening to a heavenly book? Uncle Long burst into laughter when he saw Dongfeng Yu's confused expression. He had only just realized that Dongfeng Yu could be so cute today. It was so loving. Big brother, although we can't make a move against the White Tiger race, isn't there still the former White Tiger tribe leader? Of course, this is their family matter and has little to do with us, so we just have to watch the show and don't care about anything else. Dongfeng Lin, who had been ignored by everyone, spoke helplessly. Does that mean that our enmity with the White Tiger race is over? When Dongfeng Yu heard this, he said gloomily, Senior Dongfeng Yu, although the White Tiger tribe has colluded with Wu Yan, they are only small fry. We have already asked for a lot of compensation, so why should we lower our status by being calculative with small fry? Don't you agree? Uncle Long asked with a smile. I'm fine. If Schwerer doesn't mind, I naturally won't mind. When Dongfeng Yu said this, he turned to look at Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. Haven't we already caught the culprit? Since the White Tiger race has the intention to seek peace, I'll let them off for now. Moreover, I don't think that all the members of the White Tiger race will be content with their position. Perhaps it won't be long before they take the initiative to break their promise. Therefore, Senior Dongfeng Yu, there's really no need to worry too much about the White Tiger race. All right. Since you've all said so, I naturally have nothing to worry about. Dongfeng Yu finally felt relieved. Compared to Uncle Long, he was more willing to believe Shui Er's words. Uncle Long also knew about his problem, so after Dongfeng Yu was relieved, Uncle Long rolled his eyes at him contemptuously and left angrily. Thanks, Uncle Long is angry. Dongfeng Yu was dumbfounded. Was this old whale for real? He got angry so easily? Yup. I think you should go and coax her. Lung Ruoxue kindly suggested. Dongfeng Yu hesitated for a moment before he nodded. All right then. Although he didn't think that he would be able to pacify that suddenly tsundere old whale. After he and Uncle Long had left, Lung Ruoxue turned to look at Dongfeng Lin and asked, Is Demon City lacking manpower? It's indeed a little lacking. However, there's no need to worry. In a few days, the laborers from the White Tiger race should arrive. Their bodies are strong and sturdy, and one of them is definitely enough to handle 2 people. Dongfeng Lin said with a smirk. That's good. If the phoenix kind and the dragon kind also want to make peace, then well, do it according to the White Tiger's standards. However, the premise is that they have to hand over the culprit. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Lung Ruoxua said after some thought. All right. Shui, what are your plans from now on? Do you still want to continue your closed-door cultivation? Dongfeng Lin nodded and asked. Yes, but I will come out to take a look from time to time. If you have any problems, you can take the initiative to find me. Lung Ruoxua laughed lightly. She was very assured of her position as a hands-off manager. She also believed that if there was a problem, Uncle Long and the others would think of a way to solve it. There was no need for her to worry at all. What she needed to do now was to work hard to improve her strength, so that she could meet the demon sooner. With that, Lung Ruoxua chatted with Dongfeng Lin for a while more before returning to the bracelet to spar with First Elder and the others. Several days later, all of the White Tiger race's coolies arrived. Their compensation was also brought over, including the 500,000 top-grade crystals that Shui Yuan wanted. When Shui Ran saw the peak-grade crystals that were as large as a small mountain and contained the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, her eyes lit up. She had lived for so long, but she had never seen so much money before. Today, she had finally opened her eyes. Sob. The White Tiger race was really too rich. It was a pity that this money didn't belong to her. So sad. Why did he let it see so much money? The moment it thought of how it could only take a look at the money before giving it all to Lung Ruoxua, its little heart ached. Tieske. Country bumpkin, stupid fox who has never seen the world. Suddenly, a disdainful voice sounded in Shui Ran's ears. Who was it? Who was laughing at it? Shui Ran was furious, and the consequences would be severe. However, when it saw that the one who laughed at it was the little black fox, it immediately wilted. It couldn't handle this little fox. This little fellow was unmoved by both soft and hard tactics, and even wanted to cause trouble for them all day long, causing them to almost go crazy. But there was nothing they could do to it. This was because although this little fellow called itself a snow fox, and the May had also verified that it was indeed a snow fox, it was a snow fox that refused to be disciplined. Even the king had been led astray by it. Sob. As long as it thought of its miserable life on the snow bridge, it couldn't help but shed bitter tears. It was a pity that no one understood it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in such a hurry to earn this 500,000 to return to Lung Ruoxua. After paying back the money, it wouldn't feel that it owed a huge debt to others, and it didn't have to care about that hateful black fox anymore. But the fact was that they didn't want it to care about them at all. How good was a free life? Who would be willing to listen to 2 old foxes preaching in their ears all day long? Even the good-tempered and understanding May was not willing to listen, let alone the few of them who had always been lawless. Shui Ran swallowed her anger and accepted the judge's evaluation. Not only did she not talk back, but she also consoled herself in her heart for a long time. Then she said to Uncle Long with a sad face, Uncle Long, I'm returning this money to Shui. Is that okay? Chapter 2586. Buying Tiger Heart over, too. No problem, he said. Uncle Long said in an extremely friendly manner. He knew very well that the 2 foxes, Shui Mu and Shui Qiao, had been provoked quite a bit recently, so he naturally didn't want to make things worse for them. As such, he replied without any hesitation. However, he wanted to let Shui Ran off, but Richard, that heartless little thing, obviously didn't intend to let Shui Ran off so easily. The referee said disapprovingly, Isn't this money the initial condition for the negotiation? How could he use it to pay off a debt? This was definitely abusing his authority for personal gain. You're using my master's money to fill its own hole. Do you think this is right? You're embezzling public funds. Do you know that? Richard's words were as righteous as they could get. When Uncle Long and the others heard this, they couldn't help but sympathize with Shui Ran even more. Watch. This heartless little thing. Elder Shui Ran had taken the entire debt of these little fellows' gambling debts on her shoulders back then. She had finally managed to think of a way to deduct some money from the White Tiger Races account, but now it was being accused of misappropriating public funds. What the hell was this? You can't bully people like this, okay? Uncle Long and the others felt that the referee was really a bully. He wondered who this little fellow learned it from. How could he be so bad? The protagonist of everyone's sympathy, Grand Elder Shui Ran, almost knelt down when she heard this. Oh, there was no way out. Was this the rhythm of forcing the fox to death? Shui Ran was very worried. Right now, she really regretted being soft-hearted and shouldering the gambling debt for these little fellows. Now, she had met the white-eyed fox. However, Richard didn't think of itself as a white-eyed fox. Instead, it looked proud as if it was waiting for everyone to praise it. It held its fluffy little head high, and the expression on its face was as proud as it could be. Everyone was speechless. Finally, Uncle Long patted Shui Ran's shoulder and said, "Elder Shui Mu, why don't we just confiscate this money? Anyway, Shui didn't ask you to return the money, so I don't think you need to be too stressed. Really, just be normal." All right then. Shui Ran wept pitifully. It had never owed anyone a debt before, so it had finally compromised and could owe them without any qualms. However, it also secretly swore in its heart that it would never help anyone carry their gambling debts again, no matter who it was. Once bitten by a snake, twice shy. However, with the guidance of the Holy See, Elder Shui Ran would be afraid for a longer time. After that, Shui Ran didn't even look at those annoying top-grade crystals, and ran away as if she was running for her life. After Shui Ran left, Uncle Long touched Richard's head helplessly and said, "You succeeded. Are you satisfied? Why are you bullying me? From what I know, it's pretty good to you. So what? Isn't it still trying to scheme against us?" The referee didn't appreciate Shui Ran's kindness at all. Instead, he spoke with a resentful expression. How could that be called scheming? It's for your own good." Uncle Long couldn't help but sigh. You can't hurt a rebellious child? And the elders who were bent on educating them seemed to be even more unbearable. We're used to being wild and can't be the fox it hopes for. We also don't have the mood to shine for the snow fox tribe in the divine realm. The referee said with a look of dissatisfaction. In any case, it felt that they had been tricked. Then you guys don't care about Snow Shadow anymore? Uncle Long asked like a caring uncle. From what he knew, Shuang had a pretty good relationship with these little fellows. Thanks, the Snow Shadow is the Snow Shadow, and the Snow Fox tribe is the Snow Fox tribe. They are two different things. The referee said stubbornly. But isn't May already the Snow Fox King? Uncle Long didn't know what to say. This little guy was not an ordinary rebellious person. It seemed like other than Schwerer, no one could control it. So what? May isn't actually very willing either. The referee broke the news. As you said, so what? Regardless of whether the May is willing or not, it is already the king of the Snow Fox tribe. So, whether you are willing to accept this fact or not, you should all help it well. Don't forget, you are little companions who grew up together. Uncle Long said earnestly. Of course we will help May, but we don't like to be controlled by others. Yao told them the truth. If it wasn't for the old fox who forbade them from doing this and that and told them what to do, they wouldn't be so rebellious. One had to know that even their master had never complained about what they did not do well enough, but now they were being complained about by an old fox that they were not very familiar with. How could they stand this? And the result of being oppressed was naturally resistance. Rise up to resist, defeat the oppressor, and defend their dignity. This was what Richard and the other small beasts had been working hard on recently, and the results were obvious. In fact, Uncle Long had always known that Shui Ran and Shui Qiao had been trying their best to teach these little ones, but he didn't expect them to be so disgusted with the two old foxes' teaching. Now that things had come to this, it seemed that it really wasn't appropriate for the two old foxes to continue teaching them. However, how should he tell these words to the two old foxes who were extremely enthusiastic? Uncle Long was a little troubled. However, he still took the initiative to take on the task of saving Jia and the other little beasts. Otherwise, it would affect the unity. However, before Uncle Long could say anything, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao gave up on teaching the little beasts. They couldn't be taught. They didn't want to waste any more time and energy. In just a few days, they were both mentally and physically exhausted. Hearing this, Uncle Long was relieved. The little beasts were as excited as birds out of their cages. However, Uncle Long didn't want them to cause trouble all day, so he arranged for them to be supervisors. The target of their surveillance was naturally the white tiger race. With the fiery eyes of these little things watching over them, the white tigers didn't dare to slack off anymore. If they did, they would be reported, and then Uncle Long would report them to the entire city. That would be extremely embarrassing. Although the white tiger's participation eased the shortage of manpower to a certain extent, after a few days of construction, Uncle Dragon felt that there was still not enough manpower. According to the current progress of the construction, it would take a long time to build Demon City. After some thought, he went to look for the elder leading the White Tiger Race's team. Seeing that Uncle Long had come to look for him, the White Tiger Race's elder, who was temporarily staying in Lung Ruox's residence, felt extremely uneasy. Although it had only been a few days, it had already received many complaints from the White Tigers. They all strongly demanded that the clan be replaced by other clansmen. Those clansmen who had been complaining were finally appeased by it with great difficulty. Now, Uncle Long had come to find it. This was definitely not a good thing. The White Tiger Elder's face was filled with worry. Seeing this, Uncle Long thought that the White Tiger Elder in front of him had seen through his difficulties. He was embarrassed for a moment, but he still said bluntly, "White Tiger Elder, I have something to discuss with you." What's the matter? The White Tiger Elder's heart beat faster, and his voice trembled. What he was afraid of really happened. Did he still want to live like a tiger? "We don't have enough manpower. Can your White Tiger race send more people over?" Uncle Long tried his best to speak in a low voice, so as not to scare the White Tiger Elder, who seemed to be in a bad mental state. Chapter 2587. Buying Tiger Heart over 3. We still need to send people? The White Tiger Elder wanted to kneel down in front of Uncle Long after hearing this. Sop. Half of their people were already here. If they were to send more people, the clansmen would definitely explode. Yes, the current construction progress is too slow. I want to speed it up. Uncle Long explained. But the contract says that we'll only send half of our clansmen. The White Tiger Elder could not help but remind him in a low voice. I know. For the others, just consider it as us borrowing from your White Tiger race. We will pay the compensation. Is this fine? Uncle Long said. Pay. When the White Tiger Elder heard this, he asked in disbelief. Right. The clansmen that your White Tiger race will send over will be paid, and won't work for us for free. Uncle Long promised. May I ask what the reward is? The White Tiger Elder was very surprised. He really didn't expect this. These vampires were actually willing to bleed one day. Was it going to rain red? Pills and equipment are fine. It's up to you guys to choose. Uncle Long thought for a while and replied. From the looks of it, they had no lack of pills and equipment. Schwer and the top alchemists and blacksmiths were still refining. He had quite a few finished products in his hands, and these things could be used as payment for the White Tigers. He believed that the White Tigers would not be able to resist such temptation. As expected, the White Tiger Elder's eyes lit up as he asked, How much can you give me? 1 healing pill a day, plus 1 divine power recovery pill or equipment of the same value. How about it? Uncle Long said generously, I can't make that decision. I have to send the news back to the clan, and let the Great Elder make a decision. The White Tiger Elder said with a serious expression after thinking for a while. In reality, he was already overjoyed in his heart. 2 medicinal pills a day was not something that anyone could afford. Furthermore, to the beast race, they were most interested in medicinal pills. They did not really need equipment. Then I'll wait for Elder White Tiger's good news. If you're not willing to do it, then I can only recruit people from the divine realm. However, I'm still more inclined to you. After all, we've already made peace. Of course, I'll leave a good opportunity for you. Uncle Long said with a smile, and was ready to leave. However, before he could leave, he was stopped by the White Tiger Elder again. Is there anything else? Uncle Long looked at the tiger in front of him and asked. Uncle Long, Since you've already paid for the clan's people to come again, shouldn't you also pay for those of us who came first? Otherwise, I'm afraid that some people will be upset. The White Tiger Elder said, a little embarrassed. White Tiger Elder, your White Tiger race has agreed to contribute half of your clansmen to help us construct Demon City. According to the contract, these people shouldn't receive any reward. As for the dissatisfaction in your hearts, that should be your White Tiger race's internal matter, right? Uncle Long stared at the White Tiger Elder, causing the latter to break out in a cold sweat. It was a little regretful. Why did he bring this up? What if his greed caused Uncle Long's dissatisfaction? Wouldn't that be self-defeating? One had to know that before they came, the Great Elder had repeatedly urged them to have a good relationship with this side. But now the relationship was in danger of being ruined by him. Woo! What should they do? Just as the White Tiger Elder was about to say something to remedy the situation, Uncle Long changed the topic and said slowly, however, it seems that it's not easy for you, so I'll pay you a healing pill every day. However, the premise is that those white tigers have to work hard. If their performance is not good, we won't be a fool. In addition, I suggest that your tribe should also give these people some appropriate compensation. After all, they were sent here for the sake of the tribe, so you can't let them suffer, don't you think so? Yes. Yes, I am. The White Tiger Elder hurriedly replied. He had never thought of such a reversal in words. He had thought that Uncle Long was angry. It didn't expect the other party to be so kind. Woo. It was really touched, but at the same time, it was relieved. Fortunately, its greed did not make the other party feel disgusted. Otherwise, it would be hard to absolve itself of the blame, even if it died 1,000 times. Elder White Tiger, let's get along well in the future. We've always been very generous to our friends, you know that. Uncle Long patted the White Tiger Elder's shoulder with a sigh, and left immediately. When they returned to the living room, Uncle Long explained the matter that he had discussed with the White Tiger Elder to Brother Dongfangyu. After Dongfangyu heard it, he said with a look of disdain, you've also learned how to bribe Tigerheart. So what if I bribe Tigerheart? Illegal? Uncle Long argued. It's not against the law, but you can't just take the pills that Shui and the others have worked so hard to refine and give them to others as a gift, right? The White Tiger race isn't our ally. Dongfangyu said in a seemingly dissatisfied manner. They can't be considered our enemies now. Moreover, Shui said that he'll be fully in charge of the matters in the demon's land, and am using the pills as a reward to complete the construction of Demon City as soon as possible. As such, my decision is absolutely correct. Uncle Long glanced at Dongfangyu and said in a calm voice, you're quibbling. Dongfangyu roared in anger. On the side, Dongfanglin saw that the two of them were about to start fighting like cockfights again, and felt a headache coming on. He didn't know what was going on, but ever since Shui had gone into seclusion from time to time, it was as if these two had suddenly developed a life and death enmity. They would go all out at every turn. Of course, they didn't really fight, but looking at their daggers' drawn appearance, it was also unbearable. Those who didn't know the truth would think that they were coaxing each other. These two people were really becoming more and more like children. Dongfanglin was extremely depressed. In this situation, it was not good for him to help anyone, and as long as he was present, they would drag him into this. This made him extremely helpless. Thanks as expected, just as Dongfanglin was thinking this, he heard his big brother's voice ring in his ear. Lin, don't you think this old whale is being wasted? Dongfanglin, you have to be honest. You can't side with your brother, understand? Uncle Long also pulled Dongfanglin over, and made a serious request. You two are not kids anymore. Aren't you tired of quarreling all the time over such trivial things? Dongfanglin was going a little crazy. It's fine if you're quarreling, but don't drag me into it, okay? He wasn't the judge, so he couldn't interfere in their affairs. Lin, how could this be a trivial matter? This is a big deal, okay? It's shameful to waste. Dongfangyu said with a disapproving look. It's not a waste, it's to stimulate their motivation to work, understand? You're a brainless idiot who only knows how to use brute force. Uncle Long said with a face full of disappointment. You're the idiot. Your whole family is an idiot. Dongfangyu was infuriated. If they were quarreling, so be it. There was no need for personal attacks. I'm sorry, I'm the only one at home. Uncle Long said indifferently. Dongfangyu was furious. All right. All of you stop. You're not done yet. Dongfeng Lin, who couldn't take it anymore, finally shouted. With this roar, Uncle Long and Dongfangyu both strangely quieted down like mistreated wives. When Dongfeng Lin saw this, he was really surprised. If he had known earlier, he would have flipped out long ago, alright? Little Lin Lin is so fierce, Uncle Long said fearfully. He kept patting his chest to show that he was very scared. Exactly, it's so terrifying. Dongfangyu chimed in. Dongfeng Lin was truly speechless when he saw how careful they were. What now? Lung Ruoxua walked in from outside and saw the strange atmosphere. She couldn't help but ask curiously. Shui or Uncle Long is acting on his own again. You have to do something about it. Dongfangyu was the first to complain. Uncle Long rolled his eyes helplessly when he saw this. He thought to himself, this guy is addicted to complaining. I really can't do anything to him. In fact, the two of them were now playing around from time to time. It was also a way to keep in touch. Who asked Shui to be often not around? They had lost their backbone in their hearts. What did Uncle Long do? Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua raised her brows and asked curiously. When Dongfangyu heard this, he quickly reported all the good deeds that Uncle Long had done. Lung Ruoxua didn't know what to say other than chuckling. In her opinion, this was not a big deal. She did not believe that Dongfangyu was such a petty person. He was always against Uncle Long. Could there be something fishy going on? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes kept darting back and forth between Uncle Long and Dongfangyu. She only retracted her gaze regretfully when she was about to make the two of them explode. All right. Everything looked normal. Sighing lightly, Lung Ruoxua took the initiative to change the topic. I might have to leave for a while. Where to? Uncle Long was shocked and quickly asked. Shui, are you going to abandon us? Dongfangyu said with a bitter look. His gaze was as pitiful as it could get. When Lung Ruoxua saw this, she could not help but feel disgusted. When did Dongfangyu, the tough guy, learn to act cute and pitiful? The world had really changed. I just want to go back to the Haotian continent. I still have some subordinates there. I want to visit them and bring them to the divine realm, and help with the construction of the city of demons. Lung Ruoxua sighed and explained. Shui, you really came at the right time. How many of your subordinates do you have? Uncle Long asked impatiently. I'm not sure now. Lung Ruoxua said, feeling a little embarrassed. The reason she had such thoughts was because she had unintentionally mentioned to her ancestor that they did not have enough manpower to build Demon City, and her ancestor had reminded her of it. Of course, the old ancestor did not forget to ask her to visit the Lung family while she was at it. She even suspected that this might be the old ancestor's real purpose. Chapter 2588. Random Teleportation 1. However, since she had decided to go to the Haotian continent, going to the Lung family was just a matter of time for her. She could also make her ancestor happy. Oh, who are you planning to bring back with you? Uncle Long thought of this important question and asked again. What is Uncle Long's opinion? Lung Ruoxua asked on purpose. If you want to hear the truth, I might tell you that it's best not to take anyone with you. However, you should take some people and leave. Otherwise, we won't be at ease. Uncle Long said with a bitter expression. Manpower. Sob. Although it was a little painful, Shui was doing it for official business. She wanted to bring back more people for him, so he still supported Shui's idea. Pfft. Hearing Uncle Long's reluctant words, Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then she said in a serious tone. I don't think I'll bring anyone. I'll leave all the humans and beasts behind for you. Yes. Uncle Long nodded vigorously. It was for the best. After all, the Haotian continent was not a dragon's pool or a tiger's Denver. It was much safer than the divine realm. For someone like Shui who could do whatever she wanted in the divinity, going to the Haotian continent would be like walking in her own garden. With this in mind, he no longer had to worry about Shui's safety. Little girl, you're not even bringing me? We can't be away from you for too long. Suddenly, the voice of the parasol tree's mother tree rang in the room. Following that, a woman in red strode into the living room. Schwer, it's fine if the others don't bring us, but we have to follow you. The mother parasol tree looked at Lung Ruoxue and said in a serious tone. It should be known that the parasol tree tribe had already decided to settle down in the little girl's space. Although there were not many parasol trees that could transform so far, they could not leave their original bodies for too long. Therefore, on this trip to the lower realm, they must follow this little girl. Uncle Long, they'll bring the parasol tree tribe. Lung Ruoxue agreed after some thought. It was not good for trees to leave their original bodies. Previously, she had forgotten about their characteristics and did not want to bring them along. Now that the mother parasol tree had reminded her, she naturally could not leave them behind. All right. Uncle Long nodded generously. Wait. Girl, I want to go too. A snow-white furball rushed in from the outside and jumped onto Lung Ruoxue's shoulder. Song, you stay in the god world. Lung Ruoxue asked carefully. Why? I want to follow you to the lower realm to take a look. Take me with you. Blue pitifully begged, tears shimmering in her dark eyes, looking very pitiful. Can you stay behind and protect Demon City? I'll only be more at ease with you around. Lung Ruoxue suggested. This. Azure was very unwilling. Song, Demon City can't afford any more trouble. Without me, if Fog Phoenix sends more people here, only you can help me guard this place. Lung Ruoxue said in a very emotional manner, and she secretly gave Uncle Long a look. Thanks yup. Senior Song, Demon City needs you more. Uncle Long quickly said after receiving Shue'er's signal. Alright then. But girl, you have to come back quickly. Azure warned. Okay, I'll be back as soon as I'm done. Lung Ruoxue promised. After dealing with Song, she was much more at ease. However, when Treasure and the other beasts found out about this, they made an even fiercer fuss than Song and cried until the sky turned dark. In the end, Uncle Long was almost driven mad, and took the initiative to ask Shuer to bring the 5 little fellows along. The 5 little beasts who had achieved their goal naturally danced with joy. However, after knowing that Mei was going to the lower realm temporarily, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao also applied to go to the lower realm for a trip. Their purpose was naturally to visit their king, but their request was firmly rejected by Uncle Long. As a result, the 2 white foxes were depressed for a long time. After personally seeing Shuer off, Uncle Long and the others felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if they were watching a grown child leave his parents to go out and explore the world. They were all deeply worried. Song's ears drooped listlessly and he did not say a word. The cold air he emitted made people feel very miserable. No one dared to get within 3 meters of him. Sometimes, they even wanted to walk around him when they saw him. Uncle Long could only turn a blind eye to Song's condition. He didn't dare to rush the ancestor. A few days later, the white tiger race had finally sent another white tiger to their doorstep. Looking at the large number of white tigers before him, Uncle Long was deeply suspicious. Could it be that other than the white tiger race's elders, all the white tiger race's clansmen had come? It seemed that the charm of medicinal pills was indeed amazing. In fact, Uncle Long's guess was almost the same as the truth. When the white tiger race received the news from their white tiger elder in Demon City, and found out that he was willing to hire the white tiger race for 2 medicinal pills a day, the white tiger race went crazy. The number of white tigers who signed up to work was quite large, and they almost fought each other over it. In the end, the white tiger great elder had no choice but to decide that anyone who wanted to come could come. In any case, the white tiger great elder didn't ask them to send a large number of people. Being able to let their race have the opportunity to earn medicinal pills was definitely a great thing. More importantly, it had long heard that the pills produced in the land of evil demons were very effective, and had a great reputation. Especially among the beast race, they were synonymous with supreme-grade pills. And the opportunity to obtain medicinal pills by just putting in the effort was seriously too hard to come by. This time, other than the few elders who had to stay behind to hold down the fort, the entire white tiger race was basically out in full force. The scale of this operation was extremely large. However, Uncle Long was quite happy to see these white tigers. No matter what their purpose was, he didn't care about anything else as long as they could do their job well. However, Uncle Long still said the ugly words first and emphasized that if he did a good job, he would be rewarded with 2 pills a day. But if he was lazy, he could forget about getting 2 pills. When the white tigers heard this, they immediately expressed that they would work hard and would not be lazy. Uncle Long was very satisfied with the white tigers' determination. After arranging their work scope, he stopped interfering with their work and only came to check every evening. At the same time, Lung Ruoxua brought a few small beasts with her and left the demon's land. She headed straight for the godly land to the teleportation point of Great Heaven. There, one only needed to spend 1,000,000 high-grade crystal stones to be transported to the lower realm. It could be said to be quite convenient. When they arrived at the godly mainland, Lung Ruoxua could clearly feel that her cultivation had been restricted. However, the cultivation of the little beasts was still the same. She could not help but sigh at how unfair it was. After Baby found out about the situation, he said with a smile, "Cute master, don't be afraid. Baby will protect you." After it finished speaking, it even used its big furry tail to rub Lung Ruoxua's beautiful face affectionately to show its closeness. Chapter 2589. Random Teleportation 2. Lung Ruoxua was amused by its words and could only cooperate. "Then I'll have to rely on you, Baby." "And then, cute master, don't worry." Baby patted his chest with his little paws and promised. Just like that, one person and 5 little beasts talked and laughed along the way, and they soon arrived at their destination. The teleportation point they were heading to was located within the Ascender Alliance's 5 alliances. When they arrived at the 5 alliances, Lung Ruoxua realized that the 5 alliances were much better than she had known. At the very least, they were no longer as desolate as before. There were also many more people on the streets. However, a peerless beauty like her, with 5 extremely adorable little beasts on her shoulders and in her arms, still attracted countless gazes. However, Lung Ruoxua appeared to be rather calm. She only hoped that no one would take the initiative to pick a fight with her. Otherwise, she would definitely not be the unlucky one. Just as she was thinking about this, a young master dressed in gaudy clothes, with a face as pale as paper, and walking with a slight falseness, who anyone with eyes could tell with a single glance, was blocking Lung Ruoxua's path with a large group of subordinates. "Beauty, where are you going?" The young master, who thought he was very handsome, opened the fan in his hand with a paw sound and sized Lung Ruoxua up with a smile. Lung Ruoxua was rather disgusted by the way the other party sized her up, so she didn't intend to respond to him. She only said, "Good dogs don't block the way, move." She planned to walk past him. Her words caused the surrounding hosts to draw in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that they were all shocked by Lung Ruoxua's bold words. As for the young master, after hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, he was also stunned. He, who thought that his charm was boundless, had never expected that there would actually be a woman who did not like him. This greatly hurt his self-esteem. The young master with a glass heart, Shizi, looked at Lung Ruoxua with a bitter expression and said with a slightly choked voice, "Beauty, how can you treat me like this?" Lung Ruoxua was speechless. Where did this guy with a mental disorder come from? She couldn't be bothered with the young man who seemed to be quite injured. Lung Ruoxua walked around him and turned to the side. However, a certain young master was unwilling to give up and took another step to the side, blocking Lung Ruoxua's way. Lung Ruoxua was furious. Damn it! Are you done? Did he really think she was easy to bully? Didn't he know that she was in a hurry? Sensing its master's displeasure, the treasure didn't even think about it. It reached out its claws and scratched the young master's face. Then there was a painful cry. The young master covered his face and fell to the ground. His followers cried out in panic. Young master, how are you?" Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua sighed softly. After throwing down a pill, she left the scene as if there was no one else around. On the way to the teleportation point, Baby asked in confusion, "Cute master, why did you give him the pill?" "I didn't scratch him too hard. He'll be fine." "Treasure." We're good beastie, we can't always scratch people, understand? Lung Ruoxue lectured. Oh, but what if someone bullied Master? If we don't scratch him, are we supposed to use words to influence him? Baby blinked his eyes and asked curiously. Lung Ruoxue didn't know how to answer such a profound question. She was at a loss. Cute Master. Baby saw that Lung Ruoxue didn't respond and called out softly. It looked like it was asking for an answer, and its watery silver eyes were focused on Lung Ruoxue. Let's just adapt to the situation. Lung Ruoxue only said this at the end. Yes, Baby will definitely adapt to the situation. If we encounter someone who bullies Master, we'll first convince them with reason. If we can't reason with them, then we'll make a move. Right, lovely Master? Baby laughed evilly. You're so smart, Baby. Lung Ruoxue's forehead was dripping with cold sweat as she praised him. Actually, she really didn't mean that. Well, hee. Of course, Baby's proud little tail was raised up. As they chatted and laughed, they finally arrived at the teleportation point. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Having a smart, knowledge-seeking, and exuberant little beast was really terrible. Thanks after the person guarding the teleportation point knew that they were going to the lower realm. He looked at them a few times in surprise and then said, 1 million top-grade crystal stones. Lung Ruoxue nodded, and threw the 1 million high-grade crystal stones to the person before stepping into the circle of light. After a moment of dizziness, Lung Ruoxue stepped out of the teleportation formation and arrived at the Haotian continent. But what was this place? As far as the eye could see, there was only rolling yellow sand, and not a single person could be seen. The scorching sun hung high in the sky, making one's body feel uncomfortably hot. It was hot. This place was too hot. Even though Lung Ruoxue was mentally prepared that she would not know where she would end up after being teleported back to the vast heaven continent, and that the teleportation point here was random. Wasn't this random too unacceptable? Where the hell did she end up? Even though she had not been in the Haotian continent for long, Lung Ruoxue was sure that she really did not know where she was. He had never been here. What should he do now? Lung Ruoxue lowered her head and looked at the 5 little beasts, using her gaze to seek their opinion. Master, I'll fly you out of here. You took the initiative. At this moment, the mother parasol tree's surprised voice rang out in Lung Ruoxue's mind. Little girl, why is this place so desolate? Is the living environment of the Haotian continent so bad? I pity my descendants. How did they manage to live here for so long? As it spoke, the mother parasol tree even choked on its sobs. It was clearly feeling sorry for its offspring. Lung Ruoxue could only comfort her. Senior parasol tree, not all of the Haotian continent looks like this. This is not the place where the parasol tree once lived. So you don't have to worry. Really? That's good to hear. The mother parasol tree was relieved to hear that. After comforting the mother parasol tree, which had suddenly become a little emotional, Lung Ruoxue nodded at you. You understood her meaning and immediately returned to its original form. It then stopped in midair and waited for its master to sit on it. After Lung Ruoxue and the 4 little beasts got on, you slowly took off. As she flew high up in the sky, Lung Ruoxue would look down from time to time, looking at the yellow sand below. She really could not bring herself to like this place. Fortunately, Feather's flying ability was very strong. They quickly flew out of the desert. But once they were out of the desert, they encountered another problem. I'm lost. They were actually lost. You kept circling in the air, his black and sharp eagle eyes looking into the distance. There wasn't a single city nearby. What should he do? With a city, it would be easier for them to ask for directions, but now, they were in the dark. Master, there's a situation. You said in embarrassment. He felt that he had let down his master's trust. He couldn't even lead his master to the right place. He was really ashamed. Chapter 2590. Random Teleportation 3. Lost? Don't worry, just fly. Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Yes. With the words of its master, you was at ease and boldly flew slowly by relying on its instincts, looking for a city. After flying in the sky for 2 days, you finally found a small city that looked very desolate. When they landed outside the city walls, Lung Ruoxue realized that there wasn't even a single guard at the city gates. Even the city walls were in tatters and uneven. They were so poor that she didn't dare to look at them directly. It was no wonder that there wasn't even a guard here. This place definitely had the conditions to not close their doors at night. He walked into the city and looked around, but there was no one. He searched around again, unwilling to give up, but still didn't see a single person. "Master, there's no one here. We've come for nothing," Ling said with a face of disappointment. "Calm down. We'll find him." Lung Ruoxue consoled him, but in reality, she wasn't sure. A person and 5 little beasts were aimlessly strolling on the yellow dirt-covered streets. As they walked, Lung Ruoxue stopped in front of a shop. It looked like an inn, but there was no sign on the outside, so Lung Ruoxue was not sure where she was. But she still wanted to try her luck. Lung Ruoxue pushed open the shop door and walked in. Nobody. Still no one. Lung Ruoxue was truly helpless. The interior of the shop looked rather clean, and it didn't seem like a shop with no customers at all. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, she saw a corner of a shirt exposed from behind the counter. The corner of the shirt was even fluttering in the wind. Without even thinking, Lung Ruoxue took a step forward and pulled the corner of the shirt out from the counter. "Don't kill me. Please don't kill me." The owner of the clothes hugged his head and kept begging loudly. Lung Ruoxue's face darkened and she sighed helplessly. "I won't kill you. I just want to find out some information." A woman's voice? The guy, who was holding his head and trembling in fear, couldn't help but raise his head when he heard that it was a woman who had spoken. Then he turned into a stone. What a beautiful person. He didn't even know what words he should use to describe the woman in front of him. Did the high god hear his plea and specially sent a senior fairy to save him? The man couldn't help but complain in his heart. Lung Ruoxue looked at the dazed expression on the man's face and furrowed her brows. It wasn't that the man's gaze was nauseating, but that this fellow's eyes actually revealed that he was treating her like a savior. This made her a little speechless. "Senior, save me." The man, who finally came back to his senses, knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Get up first." Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. To be addressed as senior by a middle-aged man. It was a weird feeling no matter how she thought about it. "Thanks, oh." The middle-aged man stood up obediently and lowered his head in embarrassment. He would steal a glance at Lung Ruoxue from time to time. "I'm asking you, where is this place?" Lung Ruoxue went straight to the point. "This place was once called Fu City, but now it doesn't have a name." The middle-aged man said honestly. "Then how far are we from Luo City and Wanshan City?" Lung Ruoxue asked again. "So far, one south and one north. The distance is tens of millions of kilometers." The middle-aged man was stunned. "That far?" Lung Ruoxue could not help but frown. "Senior, are you going to Luo City or Wanshan City? I can lead the way for you, senior." The middle-aged man could tell that Lung Ruoxue didn't seem to know the way, so he quickly expressed his opinion. "Sure, do you have any requests?" Lung Ruoxue asked straightforwardly. The fellow in front of her was treating her like a savior. He must have something he wanted. I only hope that senior can take us father and son out of here. Really, I only have this one request." The middle-aged man was afraid of angering Lung Ruoxue, so he explained hurriedly. "Father and son?" When Lung Ruoxue heard these 2 words, she raised her eyebrows in surprise. At this moment, a small head popped out from behind the counter. It was a 7 or 8-year-old boy who looked malnourished. His clothes were torn and tattered. He looked at Lung Ruoxue shyly and timidly as he crawled out. "He's my son, Xiaoshan." The middle-aged man quickly introduced. "What's your name?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile as she sized up the father and son before her. From Lung Ruoxue's point of view, both father and son did not have very high cultivation. Their father was only a great mystic cultivator, while the boy named Xiaoshan was only at the level of a spirit king. Judging by the boy's age, he should have been born in the Haotian continent. However, it was obvious that the father and son were not living well. In the mountain, the middle-aged man, who felt uncomfortable from Lung Ruoxue's gaze, whispered weakly. Big mountain and small mountain? They were indeed father and son. It was very vivid. Big mountain, I can take you and your father out of here, but I want to know what's going on here. Why haven't I seen a single person since I came here? Lung Ruoxua asked in confusion. Initially, when he heard that Lung Ruoxua was willing to take him and his son away from this place, Big Mountain was very happy. However, he was afraid that the senior in front of him would despise him and his son for being a burden after knowing the truth. Now that he had regained his rationality, he naturally would not treat Lung Ruoxua as his savior like he did when he first met her. That kind of thinking was really too childish. Although he couldn't see through this senior's strength, he was only one person. That's right, there were also a few little beasts that looked like they only knew how to act cute, but didn't have any strength. This kind of lineup was really too confusing. However, after hesitating for a long time, the mountain decided to tell the truth. Senior, to tell you the truth, this used to be a very prosperous town. We could have lived here without any worries, but a few years ago, a group of bandits was stationed on a mountain not far from here. The bandits used this place as their warehouse and would come to rob us from time to time. In the beginning, the residents resisted for a while, but the bandits were too fierce, so most people tried to leave. This place would be desolate. The mountain explained with a sorrowful expression. There were tears in his eyes, as if he was reminiscing and resentful. Since so many people have left, why didn't you all leave? Lung Ruoxua glanced at the father and son, who were almost sobbing as they hugged each other, and continued to ask. Of course we want to leave, but no one is willing to go with us. In order to leave this place, we have to pass through the mountain where the bandits are. My strength is not high, and Xiao Shan is young, so we have become a burden in the eyes of others. In addition, I have also offended the bandits here. We can only be abandoned. The mountain's voice grew softer as he spoke, the uneasiness in his heart growing heavier. However, his face was filled with even more disappointment. Chapter 2591. Luo City's City Lord? 1. Lung Ruoxua had no intention of consoling Big Mountain when she saw the look of disappointment on his face. She only said to the father and son, "Pack your things and leave with us." "There's no need to pack. There's nothing much to pack." After hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, Big Mountain immediately shouted as if he had been injected with chicken blood. "I really didn't expect this." After listening to what happened, the other party was actually willing to take them away without any fear of trouble. Oh, it was really touching. The mountain father and son's eyes were brimming with tears. They were so excited that they were practically incoherent. However, Lung Ruoxua didn't give Big Mountain a chance to speak. She immediately instructed you to take them away. Sitting on Yes' wide and comfortable back, the father and son were so frightened that they did not dare to move their hands and feet. This eagle was too beautiful and too handsome. They had never seen anyone with such a beautiful beastie. At that moment, the father and son were filled with emotions. They even felt that they were extremely lucky. If not, how could they have met Lung Ruoxua? Lung Ruoxua leaned against Yes' back comfortably and asked casually, "How did you offend those bandits?" "I used to lead the people of Fu City in a battle against those bandits," the mountain said in embarrassment. "Then why are you still hiding when you see us? Why are you pretending to be scared and begging for mercy?" Lung Ruoxua was a little speechless. This person was clearly someone who dared to go head-to-head with bandits, yet he was actually acting pitiful in front of her. She really didn't know what to say. "I had no choice. I'm not afraid to be killed, but I have to think about Xiao Shan. He's still so young, how can I bear to kill him? If I hadn't been showing weakness all these years, we father and son wouldn't have lived to this day," the mountain said helplessly. Ever since he was abandoned by Fu City, he only lived for his son. A man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. "Not bad, you still have some brains." Lung Ruoxua nodded in agreement before casually asking, "Do you want to take revenge?" The mountain couldn't help but widen his eyes. Was this what he was thinking? "What's with the My master is asking you a question. If you want it, then think about it. If you don't want it, then don't think about it. What's the point of being so embarrassed? You're not a big girl." Baby saw the other party's submissive appearance and couldn't help but roar. Seeing that he was being roared at by a beastie, the mountain did not dare to say anything. He thought to himself, this beastie is so fierce. His eyes were so scary, as if he wanted to eat someone. Ooh, it was really frightening. In the face of treasures, he felt that this little beast was 100 times more terrifying than those bandits. After hesitating for a long time, the mountain shook his head and said, I don't think so. Senior, aren't you going to Luo City and Wanshan City? Don't waste your time on me. Although I hate those bandits, I want to take revenge myself when I have the chance. It might take a long time for you to get your revenge. You have to think about it carefully. It's rare for me to meddle in other people's business. Lung Ruoxue reminded him. I've thought it through and I want trouble, Senior. I'm already grateful that Senior is willing to take us father and son out of Fu City. How can I ask Senior to help me take revenge? Besides, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. One day, I'll definitely be able to exterminate those bandits. The mountain's imposing manner suddenly rose. Thanks. When Lung Ruoxue heard Big Mountain's words, she nodded to herself. She liked people like him who knew their own limitations. After all, not everyone in this world could understand this. For some people, they would take it for granted that it was only right for others to help them, and not helping them would be like a sin. For such people, even if helping them was a matter of raising her hand, Lung Ruoxue was not willing to interfere. Therefore, to her, affinity with others was very important. She was a person who liked to do as she pleased. After understanding Big Mountain's thoughts, Lung Ruoxue didn't say anything else. She closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. Big Mountain and his son thought that Lung Ruoxue had fallen asleep, and were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe loudly, afraid that they would wake her up. On the other hand, Baby knew that its adorable master had a good impression of the father and son, so it naturally did not scold them. Not only that, Baby even enthusiastically took out some fruits for the father and son to eat. Who knew that the father and son pair could not believe it and looked overwhelmed by the favor. Their expressions angered the proud Baby again. Just eat it if I give it to you. What are you being so shy about? You're acting like a girl. Baby Fire roared and cursed in his heart. Damn it. As expected, she had not seen the world. Why was she so unpresentable? It was rare for it to be so kind, but it actually scared the other party to this extent, and with a look of disbelief. Was it that terrifying? Yes, yes. Hearing that his baby was angry again, the father and son were so frightened that they quickly took a few small red fruits and wolfed them down. Then, they could not help but widen their eyes and were completely stunned. What kind of fruit is this? Why did they have the feeling that they were about to advance? This was definitely not an illusion but a fact. After a series of confirmations, Mountain and his son finally believed that they were not dreaming. When they finally came back to their senses, the father and son were so excited that tears welled up in their eyes. They looked at the treasure with fiery eyes and didn't know what to say. When Baby saw this, he rolled his eyes at them in disdain and then said venomously, "It's really rare to see so many strange things. It's just a few small fruits and you guys are so excited. It's really too embarrassing. I don't know you." The mountain father and son were speechless from the scolding. They could not help but mutter to themselves, "Are these ordinary fruits? Ordinary fruits could help people advance?" This was clearly a spirit fruit. A small fruit filled with spiritual energy was enough for them to cultivate for several years. What's with the If you do, I'm going to throw you down. Baby threatened with evil intentions. Don't. Xiaoshan was so scared that he immediately ran into his father's arms, his face pale. Don't be afraid, it's just scaring you. We are very kind. Yao saw that the little boy was scared and smiled. And thank you for your spirit fruits. The mountain finally found the feeling to speak and said gratefully, "You're welcome. It's just a few small fruits. It's not worth mentioning." The referee said disapprovingly, "You bastard. I'm the one who gave him the fruit. Of course you're not worth mentioning. Also, how could that be a spiritual fruit? That's obviously a divine fruit, a fruit from the divine realm. Do you understand?" Baby first roared at Qi. then turned his gaze to the mountain, and continued to roar. What's yours isn't mine. No, it should be said that what's ours is Master S, and Master's is still Master S. The referee smiled calmly. The mountain did not expect the purple fox to give him and his father fruits from the divine realm. He immediately felt that it was a waste for him to eat them. Divine realm fruits should be worth a lot of money, right? For a moment, he deeply felt that what he was eating was not fruit, but money. I'm sorry, I didn't know that those fruits were so precious. The mountain's face was full of regret. If he had known that those small fruits were so precious, he would never have eaten them. Chapter 2592. Luo City's City Lord? 2. Precious my ass. That's just our snack, don't think too much. Yao Shanliang comforted. The mountain felt even more depressed when he heard that. Little Beastie's food was better than the two of them. How could they accept this? Sob. He felt that he was too ashamed to face anyone. However, if Beastie could casually give away fruits from the immortal realm to others, then what kind of status did their master have? The mountain did not dare to think any further. Was he hugging onto a thick thigh? Oh, I'm so lucky. The mountain sighed as he shyly peeked at the small, exquisite, and adorable little beasts. He was secretly envious, jealous, and resentful of their lives. However, he was not one to blame others. More importantly, everyone had their own way of living. He felt that he was already very happy to be able to live with his son. Just as he was thinking about this, a slightly low voice came to his ear. That should be the bandit's lair, right? Hearing this, the mountain looked down and said, That's right, this is the place. One day in the future he would definitely flatten this place. Even though it might take a long time, he had patience. When they arrived at the bandit's lair, Yu turned to the mountain and asked, Which way should we fly? It happened to be a fork in the road, one north and one south. The south. It's closer to Luo City in the south. The mountain replied, All right, sit tight. Feather warned. After that, it began to accelerate at full speed and shot out like a meteor. The father and son had never experienced such a high speed. They were both excited and frightened. Fortunately, Yu slowed down after flying for a while. When it was close to evening, Yu found a wide open space to land. When Mountain and his son saw Yu land in the wilderness, they could not help but ask in confusion, Are we going to camp? That's right. Richard enthusiastically replied. Didn't we just pass by a city? The mountain could not help but ask. We'll be surrounded if we enter the city. We have to keep a low profile. This time it was Baby who answered. Since they had already found a tour guide, there was no need to enter the city. When Big Mountain heard his precious words, he could not help but turn to look at Lung Ruoxua. He nodded to himself. With this senior's beauty, there was indeed a possibility of her being surrounded. After his internal complaints, Big Mountain took out the father and son's tent and was ready to start work. However, he saw Lung Ruoxua, who had jumped down from the back of the feather, from the corner of his eye. She was holding an exquisite house in her hand and placed it on the empty ground. After a few breaths, the house suddenly returned to its normal size. This scene stunned Mountain and his son. What was this? The mountain father and son felt that they had been through a lot today. They had never heard of anyone in the Haotian continent who had such a portable and inhabitable house. This was definitely a divine weapon. A rare divine artifact. Rare and strange. These words reached the ears of Big Mountain and his son. Instantly, the father and son were so embarrassed that they wished they could find a hole to hide in. After saying this, the baby ignored the depressed expressions of the father and son and ran to find its master. The little beasts were very observant. They knew that their master had a high demand for food. Hence, after Lung Ruoxua took out the ingredients, they split up and worked together to prepare dinner. Thanks looking at the beastie's skillful movements. The mountain father and son were so shocked that their eyes were not enough to see. It was definitely the first time in their lives that they had seen a little beastie who could cook. It was so magical. Big Mountain and his son were secretly shocked. This time they didn't dare to show it. Unfortunately, even though they thought that they had hidden their surprise very well, they still couldn't hide it from Baby and the other little beasts. Then he heard his baby roar. Hurry up and come help. You can only have enough food and clothing if you do it yourself. If you want to eat for free, don't even dream of it. Oh, it's here. They're here. The father and son jogged over and took the initiative to take the vegetables from their precious little beast's claws. After that, perhaps baby's few little beasts were addicted to being supervisors. After the dinner work was taken over, they all stood at the side and watched like masters. It was only when the fragrance of the food wafted out that baby said in a serious manner, "Little guy, your cooking skills are not bad. From now on, you'll be responsible for all our meals on Haotian continent." All right. The mountain nodded hurriedly. If he could do something for Senior, they would also feel that he was a useful person. The word little fellow from baby's mouth was ignored by the mountain. After dinner, baby took the initiative to arrange a room for Big Mountain and his son. The three of them and the 5 little beasts went into the house to rest. After breakfast the next morning, they continued on their way. Just like that, after flying for nearly 5 days, they finally arrived at Luo City. Outside the city gate you landed. Lung Ruoxua jumped down from Feather's back. She stood at the city gate and took a glance, but she could already feel that something was amiss. There seemed to be a little too many guards at the city gate. As they walked to the city gates, before Lung Ruoxua and the others could even stand firmly, a few fiendish-looking guards immediately rushed in front of them and surrounded them. Lung Ruoxua raised her brows and looked at the guards surrounding them. What is the meaning of this? Are we going to Luo City? A guard asked loudly. What else did you think? Lung Ruoxua was speechless. She was already at the entrance of Luo City. She couldn't be here to take a look at the city walls, right? You bastard. I'm asking you a question, so answer properly and don't say such nonsense. If it wasn't for the fact that you're a beauty, this lord would have thrown you into jail. Do you understand? When the guard heard Lung Ruoxua's words, he almost flew into a rage out of embarrassment. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she furrowed her brows. These guards were from the Luo family? She was a little angry. How did the Luo family discipline their clansmen? Had they forgotten what she had said to Luo Xian and his son before she left? I want to see your city lord, Lung Ruoxua said after some thought. Meet our city lord? Beauty. How do you know that our city lord is choosing a wife? So you're here to participate in the selection. Then you've come to the right place. Tell me your name and I can recommend you. You can directly enter the semifinals. How about it? The person who looked like the leader of the guards quickly came forward with a smile when he heard that Lung Ruoxua wanted to see the city lord. Lung Ruoxua's brows furrowed even more when she heard the leader of the guards. However, she had yet to figure out the truth of the matter, so she decided to wait and see. Can you really recommend me? Lung Ruoxua asked, seemingly worried. Of course. I happen to have the right to recommend you. The leader of the guards said proudly. Then he carefully sized up Lung Ruoxua. The more he looked at her, the more satisfied he was. With this bowtie's looks, it would not be a problem for her to be selected. He would also be appreciated by the city lord because of his recommendation. When he thought of this, he was excited. The way he looked at Lung Ruoxua was even more radiant, like a wolf looking at fresh meat. Chapter 2593. Luo City's City Lord? 3. Since that's the case, I'll have to trouble this captain to help me make a recommendation. If I can succeed, I will definitely not forget your great kindness. Lung Ruoxua put on an expression of gratitude. Ah, don't worry, I'll take care of this. Tell me the name and I'll recommend it to you. The captain of the guard said impatiently. I'm Lung Shui. Lung Ruoxua said shyly. Lung Shui? It's really a good name, and the person lives up to his name. The captain of the guards praised her, but the truth was, not to mention that the name of the woman in front of him was really quite nice. Even if it wasn't nice, if she was only called A Hua, A Chow, or something, he would still praise her. After knowing Lung Ruoxua's name, the captain of the guards hurriedly took out a registration form and filled it in. Then he remembered that he had not asked about her age. Lung Ruoxua reported that she was 16 years old. She felt a little embarrassed when she mentioned her age. 16? She was almost 16 years old. Now, in order to observe the changes, he had to pretend to be young. However, for cultivators, age really didn't mean anything. When Big Mountain and his son heard Lung Ruoxia's age, they couldn't help but stare at her with wide eyes. It was obvious that none of them believed that Lung Ruoxia was really only 16 years old. However, a woman's age was naturally a secret. More importantly, a good man should not ask a woman's age. As for a certain guard captain, when he heard that Lung Ruoxia was only 16 years old, he was naturally overjoyed. On top of that, he saw that Lung Ruoxia's cultivation wasn't that high, so he didn't doubt her words at all. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, "You're from the Lung family?" "Yup. However, I'm only from the Lung family's side branch, and my relationship with them is relatively distant." "What, can't the Lung family participate in the election?" After Lung Ruoxia finished speaking, she looked at the captain of the guards pitifully as she blinked her beautiful eyes with a bitter expression. When the guard captain saw that the beauty was about to cry, it immediately aroused his strong desire to protect her. He quickly said, Sure, we most welcome the daughters of big families to participate in the election. You and our city lord are definitely a match made in heaven, and they're quite well matched in social status. I'm relieved to hear you say that." Lung Ruoxia suppressed her disgust and nodded. "Don't worry, you'll definitely be selected," the guard captain promised. Lung Ruoxia smiled to express her gratitude before asking, "My subordinates and beastie want to be with me. It shouldn't be a problem for them to enter the city with me, right? I think the security at the city gate is quite strict." "No problem." The guard captain glanced at the little beasts, then at Big Mountain and his son. He thought to himself, what could be wrong with these little things and two weak subordinates? However, from the looks of it, the beauty in front of him was really not very favored in the family. This subordinate's strength is actually so low, sigh. It was quite pitiful. Fortunately, she had met him. With his recommendation, this beauty would be able to live a good life in the future. Of course, he would also have endless benefits. The captain of the Imperial Guards secretly imagined Lung Ruoxia as a desolated daughter who had been bullied by her family and had traveled all the way to Luo City to participate in the selection. It was really not easy. This was clearly an inspirational drama. After filling in the blanks in his head, he looked at Lung Ruoxia with a look of sympathy. As for Lung Ruoxia, she could feel the guard captain's gaze on her. She could only smile in silence. "Let's go. I'll take you into the city." After feeling sorry for them, the captain of the guard said this with a face full of enthusiasm. Lung Ruoxia, the other two, and the 5 little beasts did not even have to pay the entrance fee, and were directly brought into the city. At this moment, there were quite a number of people on the streets of Luo City. Lung Ruoxia and her group of people followed behind the captain of the royal guards, and were constantly surrounded by people. The surrounding people even secretly pointed at them and gossiped about them, causing Lung Ruoxia to almost go crazy. "Thanks, don't worry about those people. They are all friends and relatives of their families. They are jealous that you are more beautiful than their daughter. Just ignore them." The captain of the guards could tell that Lung Ruoxia was a little frustrated, so he kindly explained to her. "All right," he said. Lung Ruoxia nodded obediently. The captain of the guards returned a satisfied smile. An obedient woman would be welcomed wherever she went. He then led Lung Ruoxia and the rest to turn a few streets before the captain of the guards suddenly pointed at an inn and said, "We're here. You guys can stay here." Glancing at the inn, Lung Ruoxia was puzzled. "Why do you want to stay in the inn? I can't stay in the city lord's mansion?" Although Lung Ruoxia's words were a little arrogant, the captain of the guards didn't have any negative feelings towards her. He even thought that this was a display of her self-improvement. However, if these words were heard by the other candidates, it might incur the wrath of the crowd. Hence he explained patiently, "Not now. Only those who pass the semifinals can stay in the city lord's mansion and wait for the final. You can only stay in the inn for now. The environment here is not bad. It's the best inn in Luo City. Believe me, you're the person I recommended. Of course, I'll take care of you." The guard captain added, "I understand." Lung Ruoxia nodded. She couldn't help but think to herself, It seems that the city lord's wife selection is quite complicated. I really don't know what Luo Xian wants to do. Lung Ruoxue, who was full of doubts, stayed in the inn under the arrangement of the captain of the guards. As for Luo Xian and his son, it seemed that she could only meet them in private. After sending off the captain of the guards, Lung Ruoxue had just sat down in the living room when she saw Big Mountain looking at her hesitantly. His expression seemed to be in a dilemma. What do you want to say? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask kindly when she saw how uncomfortable he was. I didn't expect Senior to come to Luo City to participate in the wife selection for the city lord. The mountain said with a look of sudden realization. However, he felt that something was not right. With this Senior's strength, it would not be wrong for him to find a piece of land and be a city lord. Why would he be interested in the position of the city lord's wife? This didn't make sense. The mountain had been thinking about this question ever since he entered Luo City, but he could not figure it out no matter what. Pfft. Hearing Big Mountain's words, Lung Ruoxue, who had just taken a sip of tea, spat it out. She could not help but wipe the cold sweat off her forehead. Lung Ruoxue was even more speechless when she saw Mountain's perplexed and confused expression. What did she say or do to cause the mountain to misunderstand? Lung Ruoxue was both worried and depressed. When Baby heard this, he was so angry that he clenched his little claws and scratched at the mountain's body. As he scratched, he roared fiercely. Choose your big head. Is that lousy city lord worthy of my lovely master? Do you even have a brain? Do you have a pig's brain? The mountain felt so wronged. However, he did not dare to talk back. He could only hold his head tightly and dodge the baby's sharp claws. In just a few minutes, his clothes were torn into rags and hanging on his body. Chapter 2594. Luo City's City Lord? 4. Even so, Baby still felt that it was not enough. He angrily extended his cold claws in front of Mountain and threatened. If you dare to talk nonsense again, it won't just be your clothes that will be scratched next time. I feel so wronged. The mountain mumbled softly, not daring to look at the fierce Baby. Why are you feeling wronged? My cute master is the one who's feeling wronged. For no reason at all. You arranged for her to be together with that lousy city lord. Let me tell you, if my family's lovely master's fiancé, who likes to drink vinegar, finds out about this, you'll be dead, do you understand? Baby threatened. I know. The mountain replied pitifully. You're tactful. The baby said as if it would fight whoever dared to say anything about its master. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the pitiful mountain and sighed before explaining. I do want to see the city lord of Luo City. As for participating in the wife selection, it's just a temporary stopgap measure to wait and see. That's right, you pig. To tell you the truth, the city lord of Luo City is my lovely master's subordinate. Do you understand now? Baby asked again in anger. I understand. Although the mountain said that, he still did not understand. Since the city lord of Luo City was Senior's subordinate, why didn't Senior just reveal his identity? There was no need to do so. It was a pity that he was not Lung Ruoxue, so he naturally did not know what Lung Ruoxue was thinking. All along, Lung Ruoxue had been extremely strict with her subordinates. Her principle was that if others didn't offend her, she wouldn't offend them. If someone offended her, she would return the favor 1,000,000 times over. But now Luo City was obviously different from what she had expected of Luo Xian. Therefore, she suspected that something had happened in Luo City that she did not know about. Only by investigating in private could they really find out the truth of the matter, and not wrongly accuse Luo Xian. And if this matter of choosing a wife was really caused by Luo Xian, she had to at least find out the reason. If everything was normal, she would not meddle in her subordinate's private life. After all, she could not expect her subordinate to be single for life, right? But what if something unusual happened? Lung Ruoxue hoped that she was overthinking things and believed that the Luo family would not dare to do anything that would go against her wishes. At this moment, the little beasts that were connected to Lung Ruoxue understood their master's thoughts and jumped onto Lung Ruoxue's shoulders and legs in an understanding manner. Master, let us go to the city lord's mansion. Okay, be careful. Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. Don't worry, adorable master. Well, be careful. Baby promised, then gave the other four a look, and the five little things immediately jumped out of the room. The mountain watched the five little beasts until they disappeared without a trace. He then said worriedly, Senior, why don't I go out and take a look as well? I'm afraid they won't be able to find the city lord's mansion. Thanks, no need. Well, just wait for the news. Wuxia was very assured of her beastie. Those little things were very clever. Ling also knew the art of invisibility, and with their strength, it was almost impossible for people on the Haotian continent to find them. Seeing that Wuxia was not worried about his little beast's safety, Big Mountain could not say anything. Actually, he was not afraid that the five little beasts would not be able to find the city lord's residence. He was mainly afraid that if the five little beasts were to ask for directions, someone might want to take them in as their beasts. That would be a huge problem. The five little beasts were all so cute, it was hard not to be targeted. However, if the mountain's good intentions were known by Baby and the other little beasts, they would obviously be despised. In Baby's words, in this world, even the divine realm, the person who wanted to scheme against them had not been born yet. If they really dared to scheme against them, they would definitely not be the unlucky ones. And that was indeed the case. After the little beasts left the inn, they didn't even need to ask for directions. They just happened to see a group of guards who seemed to be going to the city lord's mansion. Ling cast an invisibility spell on them, and the five little beasts swaggered behind the group of guards. As they walked, they would comment on which guard's walking posture was not up to standard, or which guard's body size was too big and not up to standard, and so on. Not long after, the five of them arrived at the city lord's mansion. Seeing the black plaque with the words City Lord's Mansion hanging at the entrance of the magnificent and resplendent palace, the little beasts were only surprised for a moment before walking straight in. As if they were strolling in their own backyard, the five little beasts first familiarized themselves with the city lord's mansion's environment before walking into the most luxurious courtyard. After entering the courtyard, the five little beasts went straight to a room with people inside. They heard the soft voices of two women talking inside. After listening at the door for a while, they realized that this was not the residence of the city lord. You bastard! What was going on? This courtyard was the most beautiful and luxurious, but it was not the city lord's residence. What was the city lord of Luo City thinking? Was his head kicked by a donkey? The five little beasts all cursed in their hearts with indignant faces. Then, under Baby's lead, they collectively left the courtyard and moved to another place. After walking around half a circle, they found a few courtyards that were not the city lord's residence. Baby and the other little fellows had no choice but to go to the kitchen and decided to wait here. It's almost night time. The city lord must have dinner, right? One should know that the aroma of food in the kitchen could be smelled from afar. The Haotian continent was different from the divine realm. The people in the divine realm might not eat every day, but the people here must eat. Hard work paid off. Under the situation where the precious few beasts were deliberately waiting for an opportunity, a servant finally came out of the kitchen with a few plates of freshly prepared food. The five little beasts immediately followed. This time, they really managed to find their way to the residence of the city lord. It was only when they heard the attendant call out, "City Lord," that they finally confirmed that they had found the right place. However, who was the person who was called the city lord? Why didn't they have any impression of it? Chapter 2595. Mountain and His Son's Mission. 1. The five little beasts carefully stared at the city lord of Luo City for a long time, but they couldn't see any similarities between this guy and Luo Xian. However, just because he wasn't Luo Xian didn't mean that the city lord wasn't a member of the Luo family. However, according to the understanding of the little beasts, the Luo family, as the subordinates of their master, shouldn't be so high profile. The five of them had made a round around the area and had basically found out about the situation, especially the women who lived in a certain courtyard. It was said that their identities were quite extraordinary. In other words, they were all daughters of big families. Was it normal for so many daughters of big families to come to Luo City to participate in the wife selection of the city lord? After Baby and the other beasts confirmed that the city lord of Luo City was a stranger to them, they didn't even look at him. They turned around and swaggered away invisibly. They returned to the inn. Baby could not wait to report the situation to its master. After Lung Ruoxua heard everything, she did not say a word and only drank her tea calmly. However, Big Mountain and his son, who were listening by the side, were dumbfounded. Neither of them had expected that the 5 little beasts would be able to investigate the situation in the city lord's mansion so thoroughly in such a short period of time. They were really amazing. With that thought, the mountain felt inferior again. It was no wonder that Senior didn't need him to investigate the situation. With these little beasts around, his work efficiency would probably be unsightly. The mountain's gaze towards the beasties was filled with adoration once again. While Baby was basking in the baptism of adoration, he taunted the mountain with a wicked heart. How is it? Do you admire me? I'm a legend. I do admire him. The mountain was speechless. He had no comment on Beastie's self-proclaimed big brother. However, he had to give them face, and he really admired the workability of these little guys. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh. Ooh, why didn't he have such a smart beastie? However, this kind of thing depended on fate, so it seemed that envy was not the right thing to do. After adjusting his state of mind, Big Mountain quickly calmed down and pretended to be invisible. However, his dark eyes kept glancing in Lung Ruoxia's direction from time to time. The meaning in his eyes seemed to be asking, "What should we do next? Rest early today." Lung Ruoxia glanced at Big Mountain and said on purpose. When Big Mountain heard this, he felt an itch in his heart. However, since Lung Ruoxia did not want to say it, he did not dare to force her to say it. Sob. This was bullying an honest person. He peeked in Lung Ruoxia's direction with a hidden bitterness before Big Mountain turned around and left with his son unwillingly to return to his room. "Cute master, should we take action in the dead of night?" Baby asked after Big Mountain and his son had left. "What for? Have a good night's sleep so that you'll have the energy to participate in the selection tomorrow, right?" Lung Ruoxia smiled faintly. I thought that my cute master would want to take a look at the city lord's mansion." Baby lowered its little head in disappointment. It loved to see the world in chaos, but it felt deeply regretful that it could only sleep at night and could not do anything bad. "Tomorrow we can go to the Divine Master's residence openly. Why do we have to make a trip in the middle of the night? Besides, didn't you just go there?" Lung Ruoxia replied matter-of-factly. "All right then." Hearing its cute master say this, Baby could only obediently express that it was very obedient. Otherwise, master could do anything in a rage. Thanks. The next morning, Lung Ruoxia and the rest had just finished their breakfast when the anxious Imperial Guard captain brought a team of subordinates to the inn. He was naturally here to pick Lung Ruoxia up. Lung Ruoxia was deeply surprised to see the captain of the Royal Guards here so early. However, she did not say much and only put on a grateful expression. She smiled faintly at the captain and said, "Captain of the Guards, you've come so early. Thank you for your hard work. It's not hard at all. I've used some connections and specially arranged for you to be in the front of the queue. So we'll take you to the city lord's mansion now. You must perform well at that time." The guard captain warned with a worried expression. "Don't worry, I'll do my best. Of course, I won't forget the benefits you've given me," Lung Ruoxia said. When the guard captain heard this, he felt that he had not made the wrong choice. The way he looked at Lung Ruoxia also became gentler. On the way to the city lord's mansion, the captain of the guards told her many things to take note of when she entered the city lord's mansion, especially the city lord's preferences. He also told her to be obedient and try her best to curry favor with the city lord when she had the opportunity. Only then would she have a better chance. In the words of the captain of the guards, the competition this time was too fierce. However, Lung Ruoxia did not think much of it. After all, she was not really here to participate in the wife selection. But seeing the guard captain's concern, she didn't want to make him worry too much for fear that she wouldn't get any benefits. So she basically gave the guard captain face. The captain of the guards was naturally very satisfied with Lung Ruoxia's humble attitude. He sent Lung Ruoxue, her 2 subordinates, and the 5 little beasts into the city lord's residence, and handed them over to the head butler who was in charge of this matter. He then turned back every 3 steps and left the city lord's residence with a reluctant expression. After the captain of the guards left, the head butler of Luo City's city lord's mansion carefully sized up Lung Ruoxue. He was even more stunned when he saw her. Then he turned around and ran away. When Lung Ruoxue saw this scene, she could not help but feel speechless. What was going on? Did he recognize her? It didn't look like it. Even though she had no idea why the head butler would react in such a way, Lung Ruoxue could clearly sense that there were a few complicated and venomous gazes directed at her. The courtyard they were in wasn't too big. Besides her, there were more than 10 young women standing in the courtyard. These women's faces were undoubtedly beautiful, but their gazes made Lung Ruoxue extremely unhappy. Obviously, she had unfortunately become the public enemy of these women. Seeing the situation, Lung Ruoxue really wanted to cry out for her own innocence. She really wasn't here to fight for status with these women. Unfortunately, she couldn't say such words now. In addition, she also despised these women who regarded her as a vase and let others judge her. That was clearly degrading herself. She would never do such a thing herself. However, she would not want to meddle in other people's business and save them from the sea of suffering, because she knew that these women were all willing. A family had raised and cultivated them, and marriage was their only use. It had to be said that this was also a kind of sorrow for women. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh when she saw the behavior of these women. There was definitely something detestable about pitiful people. They had already been raised to the point where they were beyond redemption. Come with me. Just as Lung Ruoxue's thoughts were flying around, a voice suddenly sounded by her ear. Lung Ruoxue turned around subconsciously and happened to see a certain butler staring at her with bright eyes. Chapter 2596. The Mountain Father and Son's Mission 2. Nodding her head, Lung Ruoxue obediently followed the city lord's residence's head butler out of the courtyard. She was led by the head butler to a courtyard that was about the same size as the previous one. The head butler then said to her, "Go in. The city lord is waiting for you inside." Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue was slightly taken aback. What did he mean by the city lord was waiting for her inside? The city lord was going to participate in the semifinals? In reality, what Lung Ruoxue didn't know was that her second round of examinations was different from others. Because the head butler had already submitted her information and praised her, the city lord of Luo City was immediately interested. He wanted to meet Lung Ruoxue in private. If she was really as beautiful as the head butler described, he could open a special channel for Lung Ruoxue and let her pass the second round of examinations. However, Lung Ruoxue was naturally not aware of this process. This was different from what the captain of the guards had told her. Hence, she did not expect to be able to meet the city lord of Luo City so soon. However, this was a good thing for her. Lung Ruoxue was only stunned for a moment before she regained her senses. She nodded at the head butler and stepped into the unremarkable courtyard. This courtyard was not an ordinary courtyard. It was the real main courtyard of the city lord of Luo City. As the city lord, it was inconceivable for him to live in such an unremarkable courtyard. However, Lung Ruoxue had already received reports from Treasure and the other little beasts, so she was rather calm about the fact that the city lord of Luo City was living here. Once they entered the courtyard, an attendant immediately led Lung Ruoxue to a room. The attendant opened the door and let her in. However, the room was pitch black, and she couldn't even see her fingers. Seeing this scene, Lung Ruoxue didn't know how to express the feelings in her heart. At the very least, she was thinking, "What the hell is this? Mysterious?" Suddenly, a beam of light shone on Lung Ruoxue's body. She subconsciously dodged, but the beam of light continued to chase after her. The beam of light slowly moved down from her face to her body, and it also provoked Lung Ruoxue's anger. Yes, Lung Ruoxue was furious. He was furious. It was obvious that she was feeling emotional. A voice came from the dark corner. "You're indeed a rare beauty. I'm very satisfied with you, so you can stay. But I'm not satisfied with you. What should I do?" Lung Ruoxue resisted the urge to beat him up and replied indifferently. Hehe. You're still a little chilly, but I like it. The owner of the voice chuckled as he continued. I don't like that. Lung Ruoxue was almost speechless. What was this fellow trying to do? Or was this Luo City's city lord a little shameful? I hate people who pretend to be mysterious the most, she continued. You just happen to be right. Beauty, calm down. I just wanted to create a sense of mystery. If I made you unhappy because of this, I'm very sorry. The owner of the voice coaxed patiently. I don't think there's anything mysterious about you. Could it be that you're so ugly that you can't be seen? Or are you afraid of scaring me because you're too old? Lung Ruoxue said on purpose. Ehe, beauty, don't worry. I'm neither ugly nor old. You'll definitely be satisfied with me. When the owner of the voice heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he laughed happily. However, after Lung Ruoxue heard his words, she could not help but frown. From this guy's voice, she could not tell how old he was. It could be said that his voice was very young. However, to be able to become a city lord, how could this man be young? Thanks, however. This fellow was hiding in a dark corner and refused to come out. For a moment, Lung Ruoxue, who had been hiding her strength and did not want to reveal it too early, could not do anything to him. How could she provoke this man to come out? She had to at least confirm who this guy was, right? After some thought, Lung Ruoxue said, Since you're neither old nor ugly, then come out and let me have a look. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. If I don't see it with my own eyes, how can I know if you're telling the truth or not? Hearing Lung Ruoxue's distrustful tone, the city lord of Luo City sighed helplessly before saying, All right then. As soon as he finished speaking, the room lit up. A handsome man walked towards Lung Ruoxue. Finally seeing the man's true face, Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes, but did not say anything. The man could not help but tease. Now that you've seen my true face, how is it? Are you satisfied? When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she sized the man up seriously. The man in front of her was indeed good-looking, but he was far from being a demon. The gap between them was even greater, especially since this man was holding a folding fan in his hand and looked extremely handsome. Lung Ruoxue immediately gave him a 0. Otherwise, he would be considered as someone at the extreme level. However, a fan had destroyed him, because the man holding the fan was one of the men she hated the most in her life. This kind of man, no matter how handsome he was not her type. Seeing Lung Ruoxue's conflicted expression, as though she was not satisfied with him, the city lord of Luo City felt depressed. He could not help but say, Beauty, you can't find another young talent like me on the Haotian continent. So you have to know how to seize the opportunity, understand? The competition among the daughters of the aristocratic families is so intense that it's beyond your imagination. However, I still have high hopes for you, and my heart is on your side. She didn't care. He really didn't care. Even though Lung Ruoxue really wanted to shout back, but in order to quietly observe the changes, she held it in. After taking a few deep breaths and adjusting her agitated emotions, Lung Ruoxue pretended to hesitate and asked, You really think highly of me? Of course, out of all these women, you are the one that moved my heart the most. Luo City's city lord spoke the truth. His eyes were filled with deep affection as he looked at Lung Ruoxue with a fiery gaze. However, Lung Ruoxue was not too interested in his gaze. On the contrary, Lung Ruoxue even looked at the other party valiantly and said, But I don't even know who you are. How do you expect me to believe you? Faced with Lung Ruoxue's doubts, the city lord of Luo City turned pale with fright. You don't know who I am? How is that possible? You must know that almost everyone in the Haotian continent knows me. Can I say that I'm one of the few people who are not like you? I really don't know who you are. I only know that you are the city lord of Luo City. But this is obviously not enough for a person who wants to entrust his life to you. So if you are sincere, you should first tell me about your 8 generations of ancestors. My grandfather said that I can't marry someone whose 8 generations of ancestors are unclear. Lung Ruoxue said with a worried look. Are they that strict? The city lord of Luo City obviously couldn't believe it. It's related to a woman's lifelong event, so how can it not be strict and cautious? Lung Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone. That's true, hee. I've been overthinking, but I can only tell you my name now. I'll tell you the rest when I have the chance in the future. The city lord of Luo City thought for a moment. Chapter 2597. The Mountain Father and Son's Mission 3, Sure. Lung Ruoxue nodded. 1 yuan, my name. The city lord of Luo City said as if he had made a big decision. 1 yuan? If I remember correctly, shouldn't the surname of the governor of Luo City be Luo? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes and pretended to be confused. Furthermore, this person's surname was 1. What was going on? That was in the past. Luo City is mine now. 1 yuan laughed. Oh, Lung Ruoxue responded softly and did not continue asking. In an instant, the atmosphere turned heavy. 1 yuan did not interrupt Lung Ruoxue's thoughts because he had already started to imagine that after Lung Ruoxue heard his name, she should be thinking about how to explain to her strict family. After an unknown period of time, Lung Ruoxue's voice rang out once again. She asked very directly. Then this Luo City. Was it you who took it? It can't be considered snatching. It can only be said that the winner is king and the loser is bandit. 1 yuan did not get angry at Lung Ruoxue's disrespect. Instead, he explained with a gentle smile. You're right, this world is where the strong are respected. Lung Ruoxue pretended to agree. Not bad. Luo City will be ours from now on. When 1 yuan saw that Lung Ruoxue finally had the same thoughts as him, he couldn't help but say happily, what if I say that I want to control the entire Haotian continent? Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked after hearing 1 yuan's words. 1 yuan was stunned by Lung Ruoxue's question, but a smile quickly appeared on his handsome face. He said in satisfaction, I didn't misjudge you. You're the most suitable woman to stand side by side with me. I'm surprised that you have such an idea, but am even more satisfied with you. However, my goal is much bigger than yours. I won't just focus on this small Haotian continent. Do you have a bigger goal? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes and put on a look of seeking answers. Of course, my goal is the divine realm. However, this is still too far away for us now. However, I hope that one day, you and I can stand at the peak of the immortal realm together, looking down on the world. When 1 yuan mentioned this goal, his eyes became brighter and brighter. Lung Ruoxue could see his ambition from his dark eyes. However, she would not comment on whether he would succeed or not. So, are you willing to do it? After he finished speaking, 1 yuan asked Lung Ruoxue about her thoughts urgently. Of course I want to, but I don't have that kind of ability. Lung Ruoxue said shyly. I'm here, what are you afraid of? As long as we persevere and work hard, we'll succeed one day. 1 yuan's aura suddenly rose. Then I'll be looking forward to this day. Lung Ruoxue agreed helplessly. Now, she could see that this fellow's mental state was definitely not normal. Otherwise, why would he have such a weird idea? Did he really think that the divine realm was that easy to conquer, with the people under him? Furthermore, Lung Ruoxue had also managed to find out some of his background from her conversation with 1 yuan. Naturally, she was not willing to continue feigning civility with him. However, it was not a good time to fall out with this fellow right now. Hence, she made an excuse that she was tired and turned to leave under 1 yuan's reluctant gaze. Even after walking for a long distance, Lung Ruoxue was still drenched in sweat. 1 yuan and the previous captain of the guards were indeed a group of friends. Just look at that pitiful little eyes. They were exactly the same. But unfortunately, that look was of little use to her. Just as Lung Ruoxue was thinking about this, the head butler, who had disappeared for quite a while, caught up with her and brought her to another courtyard without giving her any chance to explain. This courtyard must have been arranged for her by the head butler. It had its own door and courtyard. Other than a few familiar figures, there was no one else. Thanks, cute master. How did the interview go? Upon seeing Lung Ruoxue, Baby was the first to jump onto her shoulder and tease her. Seeing that Big Mountain and his son, as well as the other 4 beastie, were also looking forward to it, Lung Ruoxue could only say helplessly, It's all right. The city lord seems to be very satisfied with me. Of course I'm satisfied. This is a place that the city lord specially asked me to arrange for you to stay in. Moreover, Miss Lung is the only one living here. The daughters of the other families are all squeezed together by a few people. When the head butler heard this, he quickly spoke up. Who knew that when Baby heard this, he curled his lips and said with a dark expression, "What? My place is much bigger than my cute master's." Hearing that the little fox seemed to be very dissatisfied with the size of the residence, the head butler quickly explained, "They have a lot of people. Moreover, even though the place they're living in looks luxurious on the outside, the decorations inside are definitely not as exquisite as this place. This is all because my master is born to keep a low profile and doesn't like to be ostentatious. Therefore, the places he gives his own people to live in look ordinary, but there's a universe inside. As for the places for the guests, although they look gorgeous and noble, they're flashy without substance." Luo City's City Lord's Mansion's chief butler said after taking a breath. His words also revealed two meanings. First, it indicated that the city lord had already treated Lung Ruoxue as one of his own. Second, naturally, it was the place they were currently living in, which looked unremarkable but was definitely the best. This is more like it. Baby was satisfied after hearing this. The head butler was sweating profusely in fear. Sop. Fortunately, this little fox was finally settled. If it wasn't for the fact that its owner was about to become the mistress of Luo City, he wouldn't have to bow to this little fox. After taking care of the treasure, the head butler immediately ran out of the place as if he was running for his life. Lung Ruoxue looked at the back of a certain head butler, and could not help but sigh at the charm of the treasure. Of course, it was a charm that could scare people to death. Lung Ruoxue brought Deshan, his son, and the 5 little beasts into a room. She set up another boundary before telling them about the governor of Luo City. Hearing that their cute master suspected that the city lord of Luo City might be a member of the one family, Baby and the other beasts were surprised. There was actually a fish that escaped the net from the one family? It was too amazing. How did this guy survive? It was said that after the one family in the god world died out, the one family in the godly mainland might have also died out. So where did this one Yuan come from? He couldn't have jumped out of a rock, right? Master, why are there still people in the one family? They even came to the Haotian continent and occupied our territory? Are they looking for death? Suddenly, Baby said angrily. He was so angry that all the fur on his body stood up. That's right. This is definitely a robbery. Master, we can't let them do as they please. The May also clenched her little claws with a look of righteous indignation. Master, let's go and kill them now. Take this opportunity to take back Luo City. We can't let others take advantage of our place. Emoyeho roared. Calm down. Those who occupy our territory will definitely be killed. But the key now is that we have to know how many people of the one family have come to the Haotian continent. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time if we kill one and another pair comes. The one who said this so clearly was you. That's right, we have to find the Luo family. Now that the people here have been occupied by the suspected one family, the Luo family will definitely not have a good time. Ling gave his final opinion. Listening to the opinions of her little beasts, Lung Ruoxue nodded her head repeatedly. It seemed like her little beasts had all grown up and knew how to analyze things. In particular, Yuan Ling's words made her feel both surprised and relieved. She felt as if her children finally did not need her protection. Of course, this kind of feeling was also a little sad, making her heart sour. The mountain father and son who were listening by the side were once again dumbfounded. They knew that the seniors were talking about the city lord of Luo City, but they didn't understand what they were talking about. To the father and son, this conversation was as remorseful and incomprehensible as a heavenly book. But what shocked them even more was the intelligence of these little beasts in front of them. It was so high that it was frightening. Look at what they've said. He was really calm. Enough. He couldn't think of any words to describe the feeling in the depths of his heart. Compared to these delicate and lovely little beasts, he felt that he was so good that he could jump into the river. It was really a blow to him. The pitiful big mountain and his son looked at each other and pretended to be invisible. At that moment, Baby moved in front of the worried-looking father and son, and said with a smile, "Big Mountain, I have a mission for you. Can you do it?" "What mission?" the mountain asked in a daze. "From today onwards, when you're free, take Xiaoshan around the city and help us find out more about the Luo family. Remember, you must find out in private and not let everyone know, understand? If we dare to expose our identity and alert the enemy, hee. Just wait for my punishment." Baby laughed evilly. Actually, if it could, it really wanted to go out by itself, but it was afraid that bad people would take advantage of its master, so it could only stay at its post to protect its master. After all, in its heart, its master was much more important than the Luo family. As for the mountain father and son, his own strength was low, so what if he went out to find out some information? It would not be noticed by others. There was also Xiaoshan. Although the baby was young, it had been trained by the baby these days and had become much smarter. It was no longer as timid as before, so it was still very optimistic about the father and son pair. This time, it would be a chance for them to show off. When the mountain father and son heard this, they nodded repeatedly and said cautiously, "I promise to complete the mission." Chapter 2598. Smashing with Money 1. Baby nodded in satisfaction, then said to the mountain father and son, "Then you guys can go out for a walk now." Ugh. The mountain did not expect the little purple fox to be so impatient. However, it was not even noon yet. It was indeed a waste of time to just stay here. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxua had brought the father and son out of Fu City, so he really wanted to repay Lung Ruoxua for saving his life. It wasn't difficult for him to gather some information. With that, the mountain and his son left the city lord's mansion under the watchful eyes of the little beasts. After they left, Lung Ruoxua glanced at the treasure and asked with a faint smile, "Baby, are you really at ease to let the mountain and his son go out and scout for information? Is this little fellow sure he's not trying to prank me?" "Don't worry. What was there to be worried about?" Although the father and son were a little slow, they couldn't possibly be unable to do such a small thing. "Don't you agree, adorable master?" Baby said with a smile, feeling a little proud that his people had done their best. "That makes sense, but you'd better send someone to protect them. Luo City is very chaotic now. If the father and son attract other people's attention, it will alert the enemy." Lung Ruoxua asked worriedly, "That's fine then, whole go?" Baby looked back at his four friends and asked, "You?" The four little beasts pointed their claws at the treasure in unison. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but laugh out loud. Why was her beastie so adorable? However, the baby was about to cry. It was being betrayed. Sob. "I've been betrayed by my friends." The baby was heartbroken. It looked at its master with tears in its silver eyes. Then, it turned to look angrily at its companions who seemed to be gloating at Lung Ruoxia's misfortune. In the end, it pounced on Lung Ruoxia's legs and started crying. Lung Ruoxua was sweating profusely. His four companions were dumbfounded. Was it that serious? However, based on their understanding of treasures, this guy was 90% pretending. After all, it was impossible for a guy who had always been in a strong mental state to become a little white flower overnight. This bad guy was definitely acting pitiful in front of them. I can't be fooled. The four little beasts had made up their minds not to be fooled, so none of them went forward to coax their baby. Lung Ruoxua, on the other hand, was in a difficult position. This baby kept crying and crying, so logically speaking, she should be coaxing him properly, but her thoughts were similar to the other little fellows. Baby saw that it was crying, but no one paid attention to it, let alone coaxed it. This result made it sad and angry, so it naturally cried even louder and more miserably. The four little beasts and Lung Ruoxua, who initially did not take their baby's cries seriously, started panicking when they heard that something was wrong with the baby's cries. They hurriedly coaxed their baby, but who knew that the baby cried more and more sadly, and even choked and accused, "You scoundrels, you've all betrayed me. And my cute master, you don't dote on me anymore." Sob. "I'm so sad. What's the point of me living? I might as well jump into the river. Don't you stop me." Crying, making a scene, and jumping into the river? As Lung Ruoxue listened to her precious words, more and more black lines appeared on her forehead. Where did her precious learn this trick from? However, this trick was quite effective on the other 4 innocent little fellows. When they heard this, they were so scared that their faces changed. They quickly admitted their mistakes and repeatedly assured that they had not colluded in advance, and that they were completely in sync. Thanks, however, when the baby heard the words telepathy, he became even more indignant. You guys have the same heart, but you put it in. If this isn't betraying it, what is it? Thinking of this, baby's cries became even louder. The 4 of them were even more at a loss. Baby, don't cry. Lung Ruoxue reached out to caress her baby's extremely soft fur as she spoke. Her beautiful face was filled with helplessness. Master, they bullied me and betrayed me. I'm so sad. Baby raised his little head and looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully as he choked on his sobs, and continued to complain. Ugh. Both the palm and the back of her hand were meat. Lung Ruoxue didn't know what to do. In the end, she could only helplessly say, forget it. No one needs to go out and protect the mountain and his son. You can all stay by my side. All in all, none of the little beasts were willing to go out and wanted to stay by her side. Say, it was such an easy matter to solve. Look at how baby was crying like a mistreated little wife. It was really as pitiful as it could be. Seeing baby's tears drenching its beautiful fur, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but feel her heart ache. However, hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, baby felt a little embarrassed. After thinking for a while, it seemed to have made up its mind and said, Master, I'd better go out and protect the father and son. Their strength is indeed too low, and they might be bullied. Although it didn't want to leave its master's side, the current situation was special. If there was a position that needed it more, it would naturally be moved wherever it was needed. With this thought in mind, it didn't feel so bad. However, it still held a grudge against its little friend for betraying it. Baby, you don't have to force yourself. Lung Ruoxue smiled. I won't force myself. My lovely master, am willing to protect them. Baby emphasized. This was different from being forced. After saying this, it glared fiercely at its 4 little companions who had betrayed it, and then turned its head arrogantly, ignoring them. When the 4 little beasts saw this, they couldn't help but smile bitterly. Baby, you're bearing a grudge. Woo. This time, they would not have a good life. You know, that guy was usually very stingy. This time, when he had the time, who knew what he would do to them? As if sensing that they were about to live a dark life, the 4 little beasts instantly became worried. However, this didn't stop baby from asking Ling to cast an invisibility spell on it, because it felt that if such a cute thing like it were to walk out like that, it might be captured as a pet by someone who didn't have eyes. This was definitely something that it couldn't stand. When Lingy heard that his baby needed his help, he immediately ran over to his baby and served him with his super 5-star service. After making sure that his baby was satisfied, Lingy personally watched him leave the city lord's mansion. Lingy then let out a light sigh and reluctantly returned to his room. Who knew that the moment he returned to his room, Ling would immediately be surrounded and beaten by his other 3 companions. In the situation where 2 claws couldn't fight against 6 claws, Ling was completely defeated. The defeated Ling wrapped his arms around his master's wrist and looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Tears could be seen in his eyes, making him look very pitiful. Lung Ruoxue caressed Ling's damaged scales with a hint of sympathy, silently expressing her support for him. However, as the master, she could not easily intervene in the conflicts between the beasts. Moreover, it seemed that it was more beneficial for the beasts to develop feelings for each other if they often fought. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.